Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
This is for all you new people. I have only one rule. Everybody fights. No one quits. If you don't do your job, I'll kill you myself. Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome.
Rico's podcast.
Rico's podcast. Hello, ladies and bugs. I am Griffin Newman.
Oh, I'm David Sims.
It's a Blank Check with Griffin and David, or hashtag the two friends. It's a competitive advantage. It's a thing other podcasts don't have going for them. And we promised ourselves, us two friends, that no matter what happened, we'd be two friends forever. Wherever we end up in this galaxy, in this bug war, we'll be friends forever.
Even if we're on Clendathu?
True. This is a podcast.
Interesting reply.
True. This is a podcast about filmographies.
Would you like to know more?
Yes. Yes, I would, because I'm a connoisseur of context. Click yes. Think. It's a podcast about filmographies. Directors who have massive success early on in their careers and are given a series of blank checks to do whatever crazy passion projects they want. Sometimes the checks clear and sometimes they bounce, baby.
Would you like to know more?
Yeah. Click yes.
They're doing their part.
Are you?
Are you? Listening guarantees citizenship.
This is a...
Griffin's not happy with me.
I'm so happy. David's the one. He's been furious. He's been throwing tables since we got here.
Yeah, I need to get into that in a second.
You can't really throw these tables. I could angrily raise it and lower it.
You brought your own little table in.
They
Yeah.
raised?
Oh, yeah. This is our new fancy studio. You got... I think you got the controls. Yeah, there you go.
Damn,
Yeah.
we're going up.
We got the high ground now.
We're
David.
going down.
Oh, you got the high ground now.
For those of you listening at home, the table is slightly raising and slightly lowering.
Yeah, difference of an inch in either direction. This is a mini-series about the films of Paul Verhoeven and Hollywood, and we've gotten to that point. We've crossed that threshold. The titular, the namesake for our mini-series, the inspiration. This, of course, is Podship Casters, and we're today talking about Starship Troopers.
Yes, my favorite Paul Verhoeven movie. Not to spoil my end of series list.
Yeah.
Baby.
But this is the one for me. It's a very boy pick, I'll admit. But I love this movie.
You are a boy. It is a fact.
I feel like we need to get our energy up. Should I be mean again?
You were very mean. Let's get this out there. Our guest has already talked on mic.
Yep.
Yeah, I've been holding back, so I haven't had the intro yet.
Hold him back.
But I got a lot to say.
He's a great friend of the podcast, of myself.
Of me?
A listener favorite.
I consider you a great friend.
I consider you a great friend.
Okay,
until there was this beef between us.
Well, that's what we need to talk about. I didn't want to put words in mouth.
Words in mouth.
Yes. You know I'm from The Chris Gethard Show, My Brother, and Me. Cop Show.
True.
True. Fact.
Would you like to know more?
Yes.
Such as his name?
Well, but first of all, what people know him best from.
Oh, of course.
His episodes such as Digital Filmmaking from Attack of the Podcast.
Bing.
Classic.
Speed Racer.
Bing.
War of the Worlds.
Bing.
There's one other one, right?
No, I believe that's the 3.
No,
Really?
that's it.
Yeah, this is his 4th appearance.
4th time's the charm.
And I'm coming at you, Emily Yoshida. I'm coming at you,
Richard Lawson.
Richard Lawson.
That's
Yeah,
the only
those are the big
yeah.
shots. Those are the heavy hitters.
No one else has done more than 2, right?
I'd have to think. I mean, Connor. Depends on how you think about Connor.
Connor was only on 1 episode. George Lucas was on 5 episodes, though.
And, if you count the live appearances, then the Black Men in Kent Jump in Hollywood,
Bray
all of
and
them,
James.
No, all of them have now done 3. Because they all did individual episodes with us. And they've appeared as a group twice.
No, because Gerard didn't do the live show.
Oh, that's
It
right.
was only James and Bray.
Okay, fine. All right. Well, 2 out of the 3 then.
Well, this is such a great way to hook listeners in. Ladies and gentlemen, JD Amato is on the show today.
I'm JD Amato, and I love movies. I love movies.
See, JD's coming in with
What
this
a
real
catchphrase.
positive energy.
Blanky's out there. If you're listening, what I want you to do, put those headphones on, act like you're on a phone call, and I want you to say out loud, wherever you are, I love movies. Now, don't shout it. That's embarrassing.
No, yeah.
Say it at a normal tone so people might think you're on a phone call. And if you're a fellow Blanky out there who sees that you hear someone else say, I love movies, come up and you go, blanket, and they put out your hand and they go, thank it, and then smack their hand, like high five.
Cool.
So that's how you guys are going to sort of say hello in the wild.
Blanket, thank it. And
Blanket,
a hand
thank
slap.
it. Thank it.
A quick.
He's doing kind of like a
Like a little
it's
sort of
a sideways. Yeah,
it's a
high
sideways
five.
high five. Yeah.
I love movies. Guys, I love movies. Before I watch a movie, I say out loud, I love movies. Thank you.
That's
and
it.
at the end of the movies, I say, thank you.
So you say it twice? Thank you twice?
Yeah.
Okay.
I say thank you for it coming and thank you for it going.
And then you take the disc out of your player and you go blanket, thank it, and you slap it across the room.
Yep. And if you've ever been in my apartment, it's just a sea of DVDs and Blu-rays that are scratched and
Cracked
broken.
discs.
So I just wanted to get into this and just say that we've been at the studio for about an hour now.
You have been here the longest of the three because you were here when I arrived.
Yes.
Well, you got here with producer Ben.
Right. Because
Ben
producer
Deucer,
Ben
with
and
the
I
poet
got coffee
laureate,
ahead of time.
With the
And
Haas,
what's that?
Mr. Positive,
He's doing the
Yep.
voices.
Tiebreaker, Finest Film Critic, Soaking Wet Benny, White Hot Benny, Dirt Bike Benny. Fuck Master. He's not Professor Crispy. He is the meat lover. He is the fart detective. He's graduated certain titles over the course of different miniseries, such as Kylo Ben, producer Ben Kenobi, Ben Night Shyamalan, Say Bennything, Ailey Benz with a $sign, Ben's 8, Warhaz, Purdue Bane, and Ben 19, the Fennel Maker.
Yes.
I think I got Ben Deucer in there back in the day.
You did.
That sounds right.
Oh, and the other one you got in was Pro-Doer.
Right.
Because that was the typo on TCGS, where you said it wasn't a typo. I was saying you were a pro-doer.
Right.
Yep.
Those are
Thank
great
you.
titles. Those are great titles.
They are.
Ben.
I like Ben Deucer and I like Pro Doer. I don't know if I'm a fan of the Fart Detective and the Meat Lover, but hey, whatever.
Whenever Griffin does that, it reminds me that you are an actor that can memorize things and you
Yeah.
have like a memory palace in your head for all those names because I don't know how you can remember all of those.
There's
It's
some
his
I
job.
forget sometimes, but yes, it is my job. That's always the thing that people, when we have guests on the show, first time guests, they always go, "Oh, I always assumed you were reading that off of the list."
No.
I have to remember things. That's why they pay me.
Griff City does it off the bone.
Okay, let's get into what happens here.
Okay, so I was here.
The great
before-
fight. Hashtag the great
I
fight.
was here before anybody. David walks in, clearly stressed out.
Yeah.
Give him a big hug.
Yeah.
He sits down, flips up his computer,
I had a
and
little work to do.
declares that he has to do some work.
I had to,
which is fine.
Just a second of work.
And what else does he flip out? A sandwich from Pratt.
Yeah, big
This
old
is true. All right,
sandwich.
so this is what we really have to talk about.
This is what we really have to talk about.
Let's put a bookmark on that. We'll get to the sandwich in a second.
Yeah.
So then, Ben and I are like having this like whispering conversation.
We were just chatting. It's nice.
David keeps asking questions, and then when I answer, literally says, "Shut up! I have to work."
Shut up,
And
I have to work.
I'm responding to questions that he is asking to the point that I physically relocated myself next to Ben so that David would stop asking questions and then telling me to shut up. It was insane.
I'm real fun. I'm a real fun guy.
And then Griffin was texting saying, "I'll be 15 minutes."
Yeah.
And then David
Griffin
explained,
sent the classic running 15 minutes late text, which means Griffin's rolling in half an hour late.
Well, but here's the thing I need to reveal now. David texted me and said, "Hey, Griff, can you be 45 minutes late?" And I said I would never do that to my best friend, J.D. Amato. And he said, "I got this fucking sandwich to eat. I got this piece to file. This guy won't get off my fucking back. He has the gall to answer questions I ask him. Give me 45 minutes of wiggle room."
and if I could paint a picture, everybody.
And I said, "Make it 30 and it's a deal."
So David is like
It was the great compromise.
It's a great
the
compliment.
great compromise. David is clamoring away at the keyboard
Click, click, click,
with
click, click, click.
stress on his face. He finishes it and then immediately unwraps,
I'm not gonna.
unwraps and devours a sandwich.
Yeah.
Really good sandwich, gotta say.
But he eats it like Conehead style, where it's like he just shoves it into his throat.
And I think the first non-stressed work David thing that happened was he went, "That was actually a good sandwich."
Good sandwich.
David's a connoisseur of sandwiches.
I actually am. Gotta be honest.
I'm not being facetious here. You love sandwiches.
It is. If I was a connoisseur of anything, I guess sandwiches is a top 5 thing.
And you seem surprised by this sandwich because it was sort of a pre-prepared on the rack take
It
and
was
go.
a Pret sandwich. Pret sandwiches are usually, it's like, well, it's fine. I am nourished now. It's sort of the most you can hope for usually.
But you crack the code. That's the one I always get, which is the chicken Caesar with bacon.
Yeah.
On a baguette. A mini
There's something
baguette.
about their bacon, the weird little dry strips of like extremely frighteningly red bacon.
Yeah.
that like it doesn't taste exactly like other bacon, but it does taste great.
Well, it's like Taco Bell. Like if I want Mexican food, I don't go to Taco Bell. But when I want Taco Bell, I go to Taco Bell because Taco Bell tastes great.
Sure.
It's not Mexican food. It's
Sure.
whatever it is.
Yeah, and this sandwich broke David from the spell.
Yeah.
Because
It
you
did.
were in a mood, and now it's the bright, joyous, happy friend David.
Except he said shut up again right before we started
that
listening.
was a joke.
It was not funny, David. No comedy points.
I'm JD Amato, and I love movies.
I'm Griffin Newman, and I love movies.
I'm David Sims, and I love movies.
And
I'm Ben Hosley, and I think movies are fun.
okay, and I'm pointing at JD right now. Blanket?
Thank you.
So
You
now
hear
that
that crisp slap?
now that no one's listening,
Yeah, this is the
what's
last
up with you
episode.
guys?
Listen, when you see my name pop up, you know we're getting into
You smash
it.
that
We're gonna
download
go for
button.
it times. You got to smash that download button. We got 2 pages of
got two-
cleanly written notes.
2 pages of A4, but it's the A4 has been flipped or no? What's happening
I
here?
do. Listen, I'm a filmmaker. I work in the industry, and
You
so all of everything I do is widescreen.
Sure. Yes.
So my paper is in a widescreen aspect
These are
ratio.
letterbox notes.
Yes.
Yeah, not letterbox notes.
Right.
These notes have been letterboxed they've been modified to,
I write my notes in 185.
yes.
I was about to you beat me
Yes.
to that joke. Yeah.
So we with our favorite guests, we try to have a policy of not having anyone on 2 miniseries in a row because we like to build anticipation, variety, and all of that. And both Richard and Emily had done Bigelow episodes,
Right.
and you came to me and you were like, I didn't get the call, and I said to you, it's
Well,
because
it's also been a long time since
it's been a while.
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Yes, it's been a while, and
The song. Dave was doing the song.
right, and so you were
No one's
kind
ever
of
done
like.
that before.
I was like, let's get on the let's get it going.
And I said, look, the reason I didn't even ask you for a Bigelow
Sure, so you knew what was coming.
because we had already decided. And I said, I know what you're going to want to do. And I told you Verhoeven, and you got so excited. We were at the Union Square train station.
Yep.
You started yelling shit about how you were going to beat Emily and Richard.
Yep.
Jesus. This
He
is
was-
hostile.
he
I
was
want us all to be
slamming them.
friends in the
It's like,
blanket
those
universe.
idiots, they took a Bigelow. They didn't know what they were turning down.
Those jerks.
I mean,
They fell for it hook, line, and sinker. They're talking about the love list.
no spoilers, but I mean, Richard and Emily have good shit coming in the future. Because, I mean, they are the ones we think about in advance.
These 3.
Those
Yes,
3. Yes,
right,
that's what I'm saying.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone has good stuff lined up.
I'm saying, like, some people were sort of like, oh, maybe we should talk to them about doing an episode sometime.
Right.
Richard, Emily, and JD were like, oh, we're doing this director, like,
Take your
Richard
pick.
would be
Right,
good for
right,
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right. But this was, I did you a kindness. I said, I'm not even going to have the Bigelow conversation with you because I want to let you be the one of our fan favorite regulars who gets a Verhoeven.
Listen, I don't have much to talk about the Hurt Locker. The K-19, the Widowmaker. Listen, don't have much to say about it. We're talking
Fair
about
enough.
Paul Verhoeven
Paul
over here.
Verhoeven.
Verhoeven, Paul V.
We're talking about Starship Troopers. We're talking a film on the precipice between practical and digital effects.
Oh, yes.
We're talking about a film that's had the greatest turnaround and critical response,
True.
Yeah, honestly.
perhaps in the history of film.
Very
Well,
possibly.
Yeah.
It's possible.
Think about what's another movie that critics hand as much, and then we're like, actually, Verhoeven maybe nailed it.
Well, it's like you always read, like, Vertigo was poorly received. There's always those sort of classic,
right.
tales
Sure.
of like, oh, Vertigo got bad reviews when it came out. Now everyone
Yeah.
agrees, like, consensus, like one of the great films. But I wasn't there. I don't know what kind of reviews Vertigo got. I was there for Starship Troopers.
I also,
Right.
what I think is interesting about the Starship Troopers turnaround is something like Vertigo, where it's like, oh, it's like an effective Hitchcock thriller, and then people realized it's high art, but it was always kind of like a populist favorite. Starship Troopers was like viewed as a failed populist movie.
Right.
People were like, that's
Yeah,
an
right.
action movie for people with bad taste
Right.
who don't like good movies. And
Right.
then it became like, wait a second, it's high art.
I would also like to point out you are listening to a podcast right now
Mm.
where we are making equivalencies between Vertigo and
100%.
Starship Troopers.
100%.
We love movies here.
We love movies here.
Blanket.
Thank it.
Sort of far from each other,
Yeah, we
but
sort of
we gave it a
It was
shot.
more of a traditional high five than
We didn't
the,
really get
It's
that.
kind of a
side flap.
diagonal high
Yeah.
five,
Yes.
like sort of like made
Yeah.
an X with our hands.
I'd stand behind
Ben's
that till
like
the end of
so
time, though.
uninterested.
Yeah.
in
Wait,
this.
Ben's already shaking his head, putting his hand in his...
He looks tired.
No, it's fine. It's just we're like almost 15 minutes in,
And
we've
said the title of the movie. What's
said
your
the title of the movie once. So okay, you're right. No,
what are
you're
you
right.
complaining about?
Hands up. You're right.
Ben,
Okay,
I do think there is a lot to talk about.
when you bring me on a podcast, you know what you've signed up for.
that's true.
Well, Jesus, remember the fucking War of the Worlds podcast where we went down some rabbit hole. I can't even remember what it was about. And then the recording had gone wrong and we had to stop.
What was it?
That was a serious crisis we averted.
It was the career of McG.
Yes, yes, it was.
We did like 45 minutes.
It
of the
wasn't
career
that
of
long.
McG.
It was like, but I think we've been talking for a good 10 minutes about it, and we were so deep. We were way too deep, and there were all these like semantic arguments happening over like the exact arc of McG's sort of rise and fall.
And that was Ben was sick. There's
Ben
a
was
thing where
sick.
almost
Oh,
every
yeah.
time you've been on the show, Ben has been sick for that episode.
That's true.
Oh, that was, and I forced the
intern,
and then you had to re-record the.
Ben was fully out of the office that day. There was an intern mixing it for us.
Also, are you guys aware that the podcast was actually longer? Because after the fact, do you even know about this?
Yes, I know about this. That you recorded a new segment which Ben placed in.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you know it? Do you know about this?
Remind me. I've listened to the episode.
There is a sub podcast in your podcast that was me reflecting.
Oh yeah,
on
of course,
something
no,
I
of
said.
course, of
A
course.
secret defense.
Because
Yeah.
you guys, I felt like you peer pressured me into being
I
negative.
would never
And they
peer
really
pressure
did.
you.
No,
I would
they really
never.
And
did.
if you listen to it, it is insane.
Yeah, it's like, just say it, JD. You're like, all right,
The
okay.
extent to which
Oh
you
my
jumped
God.
on.
I'd say it was less peer pressure, more just an assumption.
All right, guys, we are now discussing tangents. We are on a tangent about prior tangents that we've had on
I'm
this
so
podcast.
sorry, listeners.
So I'm going to pull us out of that.
Yeah.
I'm JD Amato, and I love tangents.
Can I just tell one story about JD and podcasting?
Okay. Is it a short story?
It's short.
I genuinely was like, I should say no to this.
It was almost a no. It was almost a
Because,
hard no.
I listen back to our
Yeah.
episodes.
Yes.
And I listen back to them again. Like I listen to our podcasts all the time.
Yeah.
And it's sometimes I shock myself when I'm listening back where you're like, can I just say one thing? And I'm like, David, why do you say yes? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I'm like, why do I even, anyway, go on.
You're the lead character in a horror movie.
Also,
and
I'm
you're
gonna
opening
give
the
you
door.
Table of contents.
Yeah.
We're going to get into talking about the practical effects of this movie.
Yes.
We're going to get into the technical stuff.
All
I
of
want to talk technical stuff about this movie.
JD
Let's talk
likes to
lenses.
talk about.
Yeah.
We'll talk about lenses. Ben will tell you. I was looking up specs on the film stock for
Hells
this film.
Yep.
Listen, we're going to get into all that.
Great.
Sure.
But first,
I'm going to tell a story about JD.
But first, yeah, well, what's the JD story?
What is this?
So, Talking TCGS, which is the podcast
Oh,
Riley
for
Saul and I
crying
did.
out
This is a very quick story. This is a quick story.
Uh-huh.
This is
where we all met.
yes. This
Sure,
was Ben,
kind of,
that's
yeah.
how I met Ben, and you were a guest host on that show. We were
That's how I met
Ben
you.
had long
Right.
hair
Yeah.
David A. Plus Sims.
And wore a lot more tie-dye shirts.
and had just gone through a breakup.
Oh, yeah.
You were in a
I was
you
in
were
a place.
you were in a something I could kindly describe as a broom closet. I mean,
Yes.
I've seen bigger broom closets.
But this was Ben came onto that show maybe around episode
yeah.
20.
Yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
We had producer Evan at first, and the first episode we did, and it was you guys at TCGS were making the pilot for Comedy Central, so you knew you were going to
Right.
go off M&N for a little while, and we had this idea to do a podcast to keep fans engaged on a weekly basis.
Sure.
No one knew if anyone would listen to it. Riley and I record this episode where Geth is the guest, and within 12 hours we had 20,000 downloads.
Right.
It was this insane.
Wait, are you telling a JD story?
Yes.
You're just recapping the TCGS.
No, I'm
Yeah.
telling you. So,
All right.
Hey, connoisseurs of context.
yes.
No,
That first episode had like
He's on our side now. We got him.
when we were at your dad's NYU class, you recounted the history of talking TCGS.
no, but
to
I'm
them.
about to tell an anecdote you don't know.
Okay.
That first episode had like 40,000 plus listeners, right?
Yeah. I know.
We were like
You've told me
number
a million
18 on the
times.
iTunes
Yeah,
comedy
yeah,
charts. It was
yeah.
really bizarre. And then I said, JD, oh, Ben's telling me to stretch for time. Okay. We asked JD, hey, you're the logical person to have on as a guest for episode 2. And JD said, I'll do it. One demand. It has to be longer. I thought the first episode was too
I remember
short.
that. You discussed it on the podcast.
Yes.
On your obsession with extremely long podcasts.
I think podcasts need to be long. People are listening to this because they want to hear us talking. And now there's people listening right now that are furious and they're like, no, get to the movie. Why are you doing
Yes,
this?
there are.
Which we're going to do that. We're getting there.
So
I love movies, but
What's your
blanket.
Thank you.
So JD said, I'll do episode 2.
why am I getting so mad?
I'll do episode 2 as long as it's really long. And so we did like a 2.5 hour episode.
It was very long, I
that we
remember.
released as 2 parts.
You broke
it was
it up.
split up.
Yeah.
And that episode did 8,000.
Yeah, right.
We lost like
You basically
75%.
tanked.
And we never recovered.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look, the first episode, Chris Gethard was your guest. That was
Yeah.
probably always going to be your biggest draw.
Hey.
But, I mean, no offense to JD. I think he'd agree.
What, that I'm not as big of a draw as
the star of the show you
someone
direct.
whose whole career is being a draw.
But that's sharp. That's like Hulk 2003 levels of second week drop off.
It was. Yeah. We strange magic that shit.
Listen, if I could be the strange magic to your podcast,
Hey.
I'm all about it.
Hey. But now you're a
Caravan
ratings
of
boom.
courage right here.
There
Would
you
you
go.
say that there's a strange magic to the appeal of Starship Troopers?
Yes.
Oh.
Just like anything. I don't
Starship
know.
Troopers is a movie
Uh-huh.
that, for my entire life since it's come out, if it pops up on TV, I will watch it
Same.
to the
Same
entirety.
here.
Totally.
And often, if it pops up on TV, I will just go find the movie on Amazon or somewhere and just start it from the beginning.
Yeah, well, actually, because it's actually crazy how many more times I think I've seen the like 20 minutes on of this movie. Like
Yes.
when I'm watching the beginning, I'm always like, oh yeah, I always forget it begins in media rest because I don't watch the beginning as much
Right.
because I always do like stop on HBO or
Well,
whatever. And
that's
I'm
the
like, oh, Starship
fascinating-
Troopers on.
The fascinating thing is this movie comes right after Showgirls, which is like his biggest flop.
Yeah.
And it feels like him being like, fuck, I need to make another RoboCop.
Right.
And
Yeah,
he
sure.
doubles down
Well-
on all the RoboCop stuff and goes even further. But the beginning is very similar to RoboCop, starting with the news broadcast, except it's starting with like fucking propaganda films.
Right.
And it goes longer into it.
Right. And I feel like
Well, and also it's written by Ed Neumeyer.
Right. All of that.
right,
Yeah. Getting Tippett back on board.
It is, well, no, just Total Recall is sci-fi as well, I guess. I was going to say
Yeah.
it's his first sci-fi, but no.
so. In preparing for this podcast today, I also watched Death from Above, the making of Starship Troopers. Which is like,
Is it on the Blu-ray or anything like that? Or?
I have no idea. I found
Okay.
it online.
Sure.
But it's like 45-minute documentary about the making of. And I want to say there is a very funny thing. And this is just, I have no proof of this. It's just, it feels like they interviewed Ed Neumeyer at 2 different times.
Uh-huh.
One, which he's like, so the original, the book, and he starts talking about all the things. And then the other, it feels like he had just taken cocaine right before. Because he's like, we got bugs and they're fighting people and I don't really care and we're doing this. And it's like insanity.
You okay, Ed?
I think he's one of those guys, we've talked about that even in this miniseries, that he kind of fell down a cocaine hole for like a decade. He's talked about how the success of
I
RoboCop.
believe we talk about it on the RoboCop episode,
Yeah.
but let me just recap for you Ed Neumeyer's entire filmography. RoboCop,
Huge.
1987. Starship Troopers, 1997.
I think in between he just kind of did coke.
Excuse
Oh,
me,
interesting.
I have more.
Oh, we learned something today about him also.
Let me, I want to go to IMDb to just make triply sure that I am correct.
He directed the direct-to-video sequel to this, 3. And
Or
Phil
2.
Tippett, I think, did 2 and he did 3.
Right.
But he's written all of the
You are correct.
direct-to-video Starship.
He wrote, so after RoboCop,
Yeah.
he also wrote a TV movie called Rat Bastard that I assume is a pilot that didn't get picked up,
Rat
probably because it
or
was
Rap
called
Bastard?
Rat.
Okay.
Anyway, Starship Troopers 2 Hero of the Federation, written by Ed Neumeyer. I believe you're correct that Tippett directed it.
Special effects master.
Phil Tippett, yeah.
Yeah.
Anacondas, The Hunt for the Blood Orchid. He wrote that.
But he didn't do the first one.
No.
wow.
That
Oh,
was,
wow.
who is that? Was that Jia Zhangke or...
The fact that you're trying to pull the writer of Anaconda.
It was a joke, JD. The writer of Anaconda was Hans Bauer, Jim Cash, and Jack Epps Jr.,
But then
the 3 friends.
Neumeyer directed Starship Troopers 3, right?
The Journey Home.
Then he writes and directs Starship Troopers 3.
Which brought Johnny Rico back. He got Casper Van Dien back.
Casper Van Dien.
He also, correct, and he also wrote, because that's what we were talking about, is
Right.
that Casper Van Dien isn't in 2,
Right.
when I think Casper Van Dien's like, what are you talking about? No, I'm not doing a DTV movie.
Yeah, yes.
I'm an actor. I'm
Yeah.
in Sleepy Hollow. What are you talking about? And then by the time 3 rolls around, they're like, Casper, it's Ed Neumeyer. Yeah, sure. Whatever.
Yes.
They just
I'll
like,
do
the
it.
fans will like it. You'll get back. It could be the big thing.
The big thing.
Now, here's my other question.
Yeah.
Did he have anything to do? I think he's credited on the RoboCop remake. Not just as like The RoboCop remake.
Are you sure it's not story by characters created by something like that?
Here's what IMDb says.
Yeah.
Joshua Zatumer wrote it.
Yeah.
With Edward Neumeier and Michael Miner, and then below that, Edward Neumeier and Michael Miner again, 1987 motion picture.
Weird.
Interesting.
So I don't know.
I don't know what happened there. Ding dong. Ding dong.
Griffin,
Ding dong.
just grab the door.
Okay, sure. Ooh.
Hello.
I bet you know who I
Are you?
am.
I think I do, but we have such a thing where I always guess wrong that I'd love you to introduce
Take a
yourself.
couple guesses. I am wearing a parka, so you can't see me. So if you guessed incorrectly, it wouldn't be that embarrassing.
No, I just need you to tell me who you are.
Take one guess.
No, who are you?
The Trix Rabbit.
See, no way I was ever gonna guess that you were
Really?
the
What
Trix.
was your guess?
Like, I don't know, Paul Lind? Like, what are you?
No, I'm pretty sure this is what the Trix Rabbit sounds like. Woo-hoo-hoo.
Okay, what's up, dude? Usually you like to eat cereal.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what I'm here. I'm here. I heard there was a cereal box here.
Oh, no. Oh, okay. All right.
No box of cereal?
Just take a seat. You're going to need to be sitting down to hear this.
Okay,
Okay? You sitting down?
I'm sitting down.
So, Blank Check is sponsored by Cereal Box and Adaptive Studios.
Okay,
But it's a totally different thing. But let me pitch you on it. It's not food.
sure thing.
Okay, False Idols. It's a new cereal from Cereal Box, who are sponsoring the show.
So we talk about like oat pieces, marshmallows. What
No.
kind of makeup?
Well, NPR called Cereal Box the HBO of reading.
Oh wow.
It's Adaptive Studios is this entertainment studio. They reimagine how film and TV and digital projects are developed and produced and distributed. And Cereal Box brings you these stories written by best-selling, award-winning writers, like in teams. They write these things in teams, like a TV writer's room, and they release new episodes of like a cool story every week.
Oh wow. Ding dong.
What's up?
Hold on,
Trix
let me
Rabbit.
get the door. Have you seen those children?
Are you?
They're after me, Lucky Charms. I heard there was a cereal box in here somewhere. Is there a cereal box anywhere on the premises?
They're never okay. Hey, take a seat.
Oh, look, it's a Trix Rabbit. Nice to see you. Nice
right.
to see you too.
Let me tell you about False Idols.
Okay.
Okay, so in this cereal,
Hmm.
and by cereal I mean serialized story,
Oh, you still got my attention.
FBI linguist Layla El Deeb is a deep undercover posing as an heiress in the Middle East. And she has to infiltrate the highest echelons of society to trace priceless relics from their millionaire owners back to illegal digs and the terrorist groups profiting from their sale. You guys hooked?
Yeah, wow.
All right.
Can't believe it. That sounds exciting.
And she's got a troubled past. She's got growing feelings for an art dealer's son. And there's a terrorist plot that she has to decide where her loyalties lie on either side of.
Ding dong.
Oh, I don't know.
Ooh.
Which
I just broke out of jail. I need some Cookie Crisp. Where's the cereal box?
not like Count Chocula.
Oh, you know Chocula? He's right outside. I can bring him in.
Where is the cereal box?
All right. Well, here's the cereal box. It's an app. You can switch from listening to reading in one click. So you can be listening to the show and say you know now you're in a place where you can't listen anymore. You can switch. You
Like
just
inside
switch.
my coffin.
You can just switch and read the rest of the thing on your phone.
I
Or your
like
iPad.
adaptability in my media. Chocolate.
There's new episodes every week. You can read or listen at no extra cost. And False Idols will be released as a print book in early April, and you can pre-order it.
Oh, wow. That's really exciting. This is me, Griffin,
Hey,
talking.
Griffin, how you doing? There's a
Good.
lot of people in the studio right now.
Yeah, we have 4 cereal characters sitting on top of each other, and
Well, I
And the
did tell them
remaining-
to take a seat, so
Yeah.
they took the same seat.
Yeah.
So Blank Check listeners can get the series now with a 20% discount on the first season of False Idols today.
oh wow,
Yeah, go to cerealbox.com/blank check. That's SERIALBOX.com/blank check. Blank
You check to make sure that the box is blank.
No, my friend. My count.
Thank you. Chocolate.
Cerealbox.com/blank check. You go to the redeem page and you use code CHECK18 to get a 20% discount on the first season.
ding dong.
No.
Hold on, let me just get it.
No. Keep the door
It's
closed.
me, the Quaker Oats man. I'm looking for my children. Yeah, get them out of here.
They're his children?
Yeah, well, I guess they fall under the Quaker Oats Post family. He's married to the Post person. I don't know. I think this all tracks. Get out of here.
Don't you love it when we do an ad for different
rapscallions.
products in our ad for a product?
Get out of here. They weren't advertising anything. They were just speaking their own truths.
Blank Check listeners can get the series now with a 20% discount on the first season of False Idols today. Head to cerealbox.com/blankcheck. That's SERIALBOX.com/blankcheck. Or you go to the redeem page and use the code CHECK18.
Ooh, that sounds good. Blueberry, get out of here. It did make me realize Flesh and Blood is the only one of the Hollywood Verhoeven movies that doesn't have a sequel of some sort. And Verhoeven hasn't done any of those sequels himself. But they're 2 direct-to-video Hollow Men.
There's a Total Recall sequel?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
There is a remake, of course. For all I know, there is a direct-to-video.
I don't think there is. There's Showgirls 2, Pennies from Heaven.
There's Basic Instinct 2, starring David Morrissey.
Risk Addiction.
Weird.
Starring Nottingham Forest football player Stan Collymore.
Who is the most remade and sequel director?
It might.
Is it perhaps Verhoeven?
I don't know. But they just know. I mean, because like Wes Craven, I don't know. It's got to be some horror guy where it's like there are 14
franchises. Yeah.
Yeah, or if we're talking direct to video, then Lucas takes the cake because of the amount of Star Wars properties.
But the thing that's interesting with him is that literally everything Verhoeven launched either resulted in a remake, a sequel, or both.
Right.
Other than Flesh and Blood.
Right. It's almost like less in the number of them and more in the like different franchises.
Right. That's what's impressive to me. Yeah.
So, okay. So let's do some. Oh, you're taking the headphones off. Oh, boy. So, and you can probably help me out here, JD, because if you watch this documentary.
Yep.
But apparently the film started life as a script called Bug Hunt at Outpost 9.
Yep.
Which is a great name for a script. They should have kept that. Someone points out, did Neumeier write that?
Neumeier, I believe, wrote that.
Okay.
And they were going to make that.
And then someone points out to him, like, yo, this is similar to Starship Troopers.
Yes.
The book.
And then the story is that Neumeier read that growing up and thought it was cool and was like, yeah, we can do it. And then Verhoeven started reading it and immediately hated it and stopped reading it like
threw it in the garbage 2 chapters in.
This is fascist garbage.
After famously throwing the RoboCop script into the garbage like 2 chapters in, he now throws the Starship Troopers novel, saying it is very boring and very right-wing. Yes.
Yes. And it was sort of that thing of like...
It made him bored and depressed. Sorry, that's the exact quote, which I think is really funny.
And so they've made the movie loosely based on the book.
But they option the book. You know, they make it official.
The title had some value.
Right.
Exactly.
Yes. Good title, too.
Good title.
Great title.
Yeah. I mean, Bug Hunt at Outpost 9 is good, too, but...
Sure. But Bug Hunt at Outpost 9 would have almost for sure been like a direct-to...
It sounds like an Ed Wood movie.
Yes.
Sure. Yes. Yeah.
With Starship Troopers.
Hey.
You're going to watch it.
And they get a big budget.
Crazy budget.
$105 million. Yeah. Did your thing include the famous, which I've referenced before, like visual effects reel? The documentary?
Visual effects reel.
There's like a famous story about like they got the funding from, is the studio Disney?
It's Touchstone and
Sony.
Columbia.
Yeah.
Yeah, because TriStar is, well, right, yeah.
I'm going to say something that's going to sound like a joke right now.
What?
I'm suddenly feeling incredibly sick, so I'm going to run to the bathroom for a second.
Okay.
I think it's the JD Amato bump.
How sick are we? Are we talking nauseous?
I feel like I might puke.
Okay.
Give me a couple minutes to see what's going on.
JD and I are going to go talk it out.
Cool.
Do you want to stop the recording?
No, let's keep talking.
Okay.
I take pee breaks all the time.
Now I have to like Purell my hands.
Oh, because you were touching him?
So I gave him that high five.
Ah, it's true. I haven't touched him.
No, but you touched.
Oh, I guess so. Well, I'm not worried about those kinds of vectors. Anyway, here, I've told Griffin this a million times anyway. JD, you look very alarmed. Don't be alarmed.
Why'd Griffin get so sick suddenly?
Gonna have to say it's your fault.
Okay.
That there was a visual effects reel, which I believe they use in the movie, or at least they adapt in the movie, of the bug killing the cow.
Oh, interesting.
You know, like the cow walks into the lab.
Right.
And then the weird bug thing, the one that's sort of the walking mantis thing, rips the cow apart.
Right.
And then Paul Verhoeven walks out on screen and goes, "Please let me make this movie."
Interesting.
And that, like the sort of visually impressive, the effects and the, you know, the gore and the sort of like, oh, it's Paul Verhoeven, he's back at it. was enough to convince them to greenlight this movie for like $100 million.
That's so interesting. I did not hear that.
So
this was
that I remember reading that in Empire Magazine. So if it's not true, then it's Empire Magazine's fault.
This was one of the largest scale in terms of amount of work to be done.
Yeah.
Miniatures, visual effects film of all time. The amount of things they had to make, because all of the
ships,
all of that's practical.
Right.
And they had some
all
compositing.
The bugs, there is some version of them, right? Like there are physical versions of all the bugs.
There's physical versions of all the bugs. And they also did the first, because this was right around Jurassic Park era.
Yeah.
And so that was the first sort of proof of concept that you can have these CG creatures.
But this is 4 years after Jurassic Park. This movie comes out 4 years after Jurassic Park. Yeah, go on, sorry.
But, so it was sort of the first time that there's been other movies, but they had such large scale sort of set pieces that they didn't really have techniques to combine both the practical and the digital elements. So they had to do a bunch of insane stuff. And so the film straddles the line in a very Verhoeven way between these cutting edge digital stuff and this awesome, cool, top of the line practical stuff.
Well,
there's actual matte paintings in this movie.
No, which are amazing. So we talk on our Total Recall episode about how that is the peak, the absolute peak of practical effects.
Right.
Because it's coming right near the end of practical effects. They can do so much and they're trying everything.
Yes. And all of those companies that do it are up and running.
Right.
Fully
and it's
staffed.
all yeah. And they're breaking barriers.
Stan Winston is a god. Yeah.
And then of course, I'm sure you've heard, the famous, I think it is Stan Winston's story on Jurassic Park where he looks at the CGI recreation of the T-Rex and he says, I am extinct, right?
Yes.
That's the joke.
Exactly.
So I don't think Verhoeven's worked with CGI before, right? Because in between Total Recall, which I guess Total Recall probably has a little CG, very, very basic, but not really.
Right.
Because that's a matte painting heavy movie. He made Basic Instinct and Showgirls, which are not
this is probably the
effects
first
heavy
time.
movie. Yeah.
And that actually...
And this is it's funny because Hollow Man also has incredibly groundbreaking... How are we doing?
Griffin came back. He's got
Griffin,
a big smile
barf
on his
report?
face.
I just puked a bunch.
Great. Wow.
So just confirm. I feel okay. I think it was just food poisoning or something. David. Okay, JD's moving away.
Is sort of in a horseshoe movement, kind of like a pincer crab.
But this is less, I think, a defensive, let me keep myself healthy, and more a, you might be the one. You have yet to record an episode where one of us hasn't gotten sick.
I know. Actually, it's a little alarming.
Wait.
You're pointing at me?
It's been Ben up until now.
Ben's been sick all the time.
Right,
So,
and today he's healthy, so it looks like we
Speed
reversed the
Racer,
curse.
I remember Ben had the flu.
Yeah.
And didn't talk except right at the end. He was like, hey guys.
Right.
Now, War of the Worlds, you literally were sick and did not show.
Stayed home.
Right.
Yeah.
The intern did the recording.
Yes.
And then what was digital filmmaking? Was Ben sick? I feel like almost the entire Star Wars,
Yes.
the
You were sick of
entire
us.
run, you were hungover.
Yeah.
You were always just like,
Okay.
what's up?
I mean,
Yeah,
I think
I was-
I'm also shocked
No,
at
I mean,
Griffin's
talk, Ben. I'm sorry. I
attitude
mean-
right now. If I just got physically sick, I would be like, game over, I'm out.
I'm not like that at all. If I puke, usually I feel great.
But see,
Now, I do worry
Yeah.
maybe I'm going to feel bad again.
sure.
But usually, right after I throw up, I'm like, okay, good.
I might take another puke break. I
This is
used to
insane
be
to
like
me.
you, but this is also the actor in me. It's not just the memorizing the whole list of things. It's I've had that happen where I've had to puke in my trailer and then go out and do takes.
This is
And I have
insane
to
me.
act like nothing happened.
JD, who I consider a pretty unflappable dude,
Yes.
seems a little flapped.
I'm flapped by this.
You're flapped. You're
flapped by
severely flapped.
So what have
right
you
now.
eaten, Griff?
I ate poutine at a bar last night. I mean, the culprit's pretty clear. There's a straight line here.
Pardon
Sure.
the pun,
Yeah.
but good gravy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think
What are
the
you
issue
doing
was
eating-
bad gravy.
No, I know.
think
What
that
are you
was-
doing fucking eating poutine?
It was a good bar, and so I don't want to drag their name, but it was a bar where I thought, I think I can trust the poutine here. If I told you the place, you'd be astonished that the poutine would cause this to me.
This whole thing has flapped me.
He's flapped.
I'm fully flapped by
Folks,
this.
he's flapped.
He's been flapped.
Ben, I'm sorry that I impugned you about being hungover all the time. Did you want to say something?
JD's moving further away.
Yeah, just hang with me over here,
yeah.
JD.
I'm going to be on David's side here.
Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't always hungover. Maybe I was quite often.
I think Griffin's
Hey,
right. You were also a
I was-
little sick of us.
I was sick of you guys.
Yeah.
I was working in a closet, and then I also at that time was living in an apartment, a windowless room. So I essentially went from one closet to another closet. So it was not a great time in my life.
Wasn't a great
You're
time.
You're doing great these days.
I'm doing good. I'm wearing a sharp cardigan. I'm looking good. Feeling good.
Ben's looks recently. I keep meaning to do a slideshow,
Yeah.
like, because I got to take a picture of him today.
His fashion's been on point, but also, Ben, you have said that this is the year of positivity for you.
Oh, for sure.
You're going to be positive, Ben.
Positivity?
Mr. Positive, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm turning it around in 2018.
Now,
Ben seems like in a real positive place.
He's in a great zone.
one thing, I just want to pause the podcast to tell you the Annie nominees for Best Animated Feature. You'll probably be interested too, JD.
Okay, good.
Okay, this
yes,
is coming
just
out
to sort of
in
reset.
February, sure.
Captain Underpants,
Cool.
Cars 3, Coco,
Yep.
Despicable Me 3, Boss Baby.
If they nominated just the first 30 minutes, I would sign off on that.
They did not clarify whether or not it's for just. Now they also
congratulations to Coco.
Yeah, Coco's got that one lined up. Yeah.
What's annoying to me is that the Annies also have the Best Independent Animated Feature. Like, come on,
fucking
guys.
fold it in. Because Breadwinner, everyone says that Breadwinner movie's good, right?
Good movie.
Haven't seen it yet.
I like it a lot. Anyway,
Breadwinner could have been a trophy winner.
Number 2. Sorry that you're barfing, Griff.
It's fine.
Let me
Also,
catch
happy
you.
birthday.
Oh, thank you. Yes, this episode's coming out on my birthday.
Oh yeah.
Yes, I'll be a beautiful bouncing 29 years old as of the day of this release.
Beautiful barfing 29 years old.
I'll be barfing all over the place at 29.
Guys, just for the people at home, can we stop talking about how sick Griffin was?
I think it's more for you though. You're saying it's for the people at home, but I think it's for JD.
It's for me. It's definitely for me. But I know there's a couple people at home right now that are like me that are like, I don't want to listen
I
to
don't
this.
want to hear about it. I think we're establishing an interesting B plot to this episode.
I agree.
Definitely.
But let me just catch you up on what JD and I were talking about while
Please.
you were out.
Yeah.
Thank you.
missed it.
If you can restate it word for word.
No, but we were basically talking about the mix of practical and visual effects here. Now, and I was talking about how Total Recall, practical effects. We
Yes.
talk about it on that app, right?
Yeah.
The king of practical. This is his first visual effects heavy movie since then.
Uh-huh.
Because Showgirls and Basic Instinct are in between.
And Hollow Man's a very CGI movie.
Well, I was talking about, that's coming up.
Mhm.
But so this is him. He's got many more tools in his toolbox.
Yes.
But JD is impressed by the mix.
Well,
Because,
yes.
as David said, he believes this is the first Verhoeven movie where he's had to use CGI.
Yeah. Yes.
For sure.
And it was interesting because
If you don't count the TV edit of Showgirls.
Oh boy,
CGI bras.
Right, the CGI
Yeah,
bras.
right. Oh,
I don't know if those, a cursory glance, I'm not sure if those were CGI. They may have been a cell GI.
Yeah.
Willy Willy. Yeah.
But there were these interesting articles I was reading from the late 90s when this movie came out.
Mhm.
It was basically like the effects team giving interviews within the industry about how they did this stuff. And
This film was nominated for Best Visual Effects at the Academy.
they brought in
Deservedly so.
a lot of their post team
Mhm.
after they had already shot all of their practical stuff,
Interesting.
which in the world of filmmaking,
You would never do.
you always say post production is pre production. So
Yeah.
if you're doing effects stuff, you have to bring them in from the beginning for previs. Otherwise, you're going to have a hard time.
Right.
And they had a hard time.
Yes.
I'm sure
So-
they did. God.
For example, there was one shot in the film where they start way outside the Roger Young, which is like the big giant spaceship.
Right.
And we zoom through space to the Roger Young and then sort of track around the front of it and then push in closer and we see inside of it Carmen Ibanez hanging out in the whatever.
Mhm.
They had shot that plate
Mhm.
of the, her in the driver's seat or whatever before they had built the models or done any of
Wow.
the CG stuff.
Yeah.
So they had to basically insane. I want to get into more detail about all the stuff they did.
Please do. Yeah, we got loads of time.
Loads of time. Griffin, you're just
I might take a couple puke breaks, but otherwise we're good.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they had to build one model. So the Roger Young, those models, they were 18 feet long.
Mhm.
18 feet for the main ship. When you watch Starship Troopers, know that an 18-foot version of that ship existed, and they made multiple of them.
And let me just mention, not only do effects-driven things, or even a non-effects movie that has a big effects sequence, will they have the special effects team working on previs, in development meetings, all that sort of stuff. But there will always be a person from the special effects team on set when you're shooting stuff.
Right.
To say, an
Don't
inch
do that,
this way,
do this.
it
Right,
helps me if you need this. There was a guy in the tick who always had his bag with his balls. You know what I'm talking about? The balls that you need
So-
to plant up to get the reflection of the light.
Here's what's interesting.
Yeah.
That's what Griffin's referring to is called HDRI global illumination.
Yeah, WAS balls. We had WAS balls on set all the time. Yeah.
And this film was before the global illumination technology
That
really
makes sense.
existed.
Interesting.
So, okay, what that is when you have live action elements and you want to put CG elements in there.
I believe you talked about this a little bit on the episode 2 episode. But
I think I did. I think I did.
Yeah.
Because it was
The
around a
sphere,
similar time.
Yeah.
So it's a similar thing.
Mhm.
You have to get the lighting all right. Now, this was before then, so they would have to just mimic the lighting. They couldn't do the HDRI illumination process because it really didn't exist yet.
Right.
So what they're doing was just trying to match the lighting as best they could by like taking really good field notes and measurements.
Yeah.
And they would have a gray sphere that they would shoot just for like harshness of light and exposure and things like that, but they wouldn't have the mirror ball that would get you all of the information immediately.
And it's also the number one thing that sells the integration of those elements is lighting, whether or not things look like they're in the same space.
Right.
I mean, with that all said, then the visual effects are incredible because
That's
I mean
insane.
they're good anyway.
Right.
But when you think about like
If they
how
were all
in their
Monday morning
infancy,
quarterbacks, that's incredible. Yeah.
Exactly. And then this is also before processing power has gotten so intense.
Mhm.
Right.
So like I was reading some articles and they're saying that like certain frames of it as they start running it out would be 36 hours of rendering for a single frame.
Wow.
And so what they started doing is they developed a sprite technology. So like when you think about video games, like sprites, like
Yeah.
yeah, of
this
course,
is exactly the truth. But like Mario is a sprite. Mario is actually like 4 sprites technically. But like Mario is like a sprite, which means he's something that's pre-rendered. The computer knows what it is, and they're just moving that around the screen. So what they did is they took 360 views of all of the bugs and rendered those out as individual sprites, and then created this algorithm to pop those in, so they didn't have to render those with the lighting effects.
That's really fucking
so
smart.
in the background, you'll see a lot of those bugs are these like pre-rendered sprite versions of them. And the hero ones that are in the foreground
are individually
rendered and stuff like that.
Sure.
And that got the render times down. But it was like
That's
they're
so
learning all
clever.
of this stuff on the fly in a movie like this while also building these crazy models. And these models are huge, massive.
right, for the ships and for the bugs
Right.
and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Yeah.
Just because if you build them small, it doesn't look real.
Right.
Right.
So like
and the fineness of detail, being able to have it be dense enough. And,
Right.
Right. Yeah.
you get your specular reflections, you got your diffuse, which your specular reflections, when you make things small, you're going to notice it, which is the deformations in the surface will reflect light in certain directions. And if you work on a small scale,
Totally.
you're going to notice the materials. You're
Ben
going to
was
notice
just about to
That
say
happens
that.
to me all the time.
Yeah.
You're going to notice
I'm-
the materials reflecting light in a different direction, which is why when you look at like a tiny little like snow village or like a little like mini train set, the light looks different. It's because it's bouncing off of things that are meant to have a more stable surface because it's so small. The light bounces differently.
See, here's what's kind of really telling to me, okay? And I understand they're movies of different scales and sizes and ambitions in terms of what technology they're trying to push. But I know, what's going on?
Keep talking.
Keep talking.
Because we got to do this movie. Keep talking. Keep talking.
Okay.
I was just looking at the runtime.
The thing that I find interesting is as opposed to, are we 4 hours long right now?
No, keep going, Barf Man.
As opposed to,
This is so weird. This
I don't know,
episode.
what the fuck is going on here?
Nothing. You just Ben
Are
and
we
I
in the
exchanged
red
a
room?
glance,
What
and now Griffin's losing his goddamn mind.
Ben's
talking.
putting a finger to his lips. Okay. The thing that I find interesting is whereas Attack of the Clones, you said the thing that's crazy about that movie is they were trying to do things that they had never been done before. They were ahead of the technology in terms of their ambitions, and they had to make up solutions on the fly.
Yes.
That movie's more difficult because literally every single shot was something like that. And
That
this
was
movie
insane
has
that they did
practical
that.
elements
Yeah.
and physical actors existing on sets and all of that sort of stuff. But how well he pulled this off when it was a similar kind of process, I think speaks to, I don't know, he's a guy with high standards and he hired really smart people and he took the time to make sure they figured it out, even if it wasn't the right workflow.
Because what year was Attack of the Clones?
2002. 5 years after this.
Yeah.
Right. Which, think about that.
Right.
That's insane. And
Insane.
Verhoeven worked with the masters of practical effects.
Mhm.
Mark Sullivan, the guy who does all of the matte paintings, is like one of the best matte painting guys like in the world.
Yeah.
Sure.
And so he did physical matte paintings where they built miniatures, took photos of that. He did matte paintings based on those miniatures, and then they like composited elements. So this is like the height of practical and digital sort of combining.
Like, Phil Tippett worked on fucking like Star Wars. Like he did like the Rancor and shit. You know, it's
Right.
like you're looking at the people who are real like artists in their fields. So this movie starts with a propaganda recruitment video.
Thank you.
Which is insane.
Yes. Because the whole film is bookended as though the whole film is a propaganda film.
Correct.
Yes.
This is his Triumph of the Will.
Correct.
And literally stealing shots from Triumph of the Will.
He studied Triumph of the Will
did.
extensively for this movie.
And of course, the uniforms of the, what are they called?
SS.
The Federation.
Federation,
Yes.
right.
I thought you were trying to...
Well,
I thought you were trying to
well,
remember the word Nazi.
No, I'm aware. No, I mean...
It's really easy to forget that word these days. They're so off the brain, you know?
The uniform of the Federation modeled on Nazi uniforms.
Which is the thing, like, when this movie came out, people said, like, oh, this movie's so dumb. These idiots accidentally made the costumes look like Nazi costumes. Like, people literally said shit like that.
I know.
Like, they
and,
didn't give
and
them
it
the
feels
credit.
like a
Right.
straw man argument where we're, like, saying that people didn't get the movie, but that genuinely
Google it. Like, find
was...
the fucking reviews. They were like...
I know.
It's fascinating that this movie, like, is this sort of litmus test for whether or not you have an interesting brain, because if you sit there and go, like, this is weird, let me figure out what he's trying to say, as opposed to this is weird, he must be an idiot who doesn't know what he's doing.
Right.
And at the time, everyone wrote it off as, he's an idiot. Why are these performances so over the top? Why are white actors all playing people from Buenos Aires?
Right.
Why do they look like Nazis?
And also, I think just, I mean, like, you read, like, the Ebert review or Janet Maslin's review in the Times, and it's like, this is just like a dumb jock movie for boys. Like,
And
this
it's
is just for,
special
like,
effects showcase. That's all it
12-year-olds.
is,
Right. And it's like, you can see, obviously, if you sit down and watch this movie, that is wall-to-wall gory violence, you know, giant guns, nukes, and, like,
Lot of
explosions.
nudity.
A lot of, some this sort of, like, kind of very casual nudity. And, of course, an ensemble of actors who are largely...
like fucking Barbie and Ken dolls.
like H-list.
Yes.
Like how low can we go? You know, like
and Verhoeven
absolutely anonymous actors or like kind of like vaguely washed up actors like Dina Meyer who are like basically sort of in a schlocky zone.
Right.
You know? She's washed up after 2 movies.
Right.
But, you know.
But actors who don't leave much... Yeah, Rue McClanahan rules in this movie. Actors who don't leave much of a thumbprint.
Yeah, and Verhoeven purposely wanted to cast the youngest actors he could.
Yeah. He
No diss to Rue McClanahan, by the way.
No, she rules in that.
They look like kids is a stretch for Casper Van Dien, because that man.
No, what we're saying is he wanted to cast like kids.
Right.
He wanted to cast like 15-year-olds, and they were like, no fucking way.
Right. And so then instead, in all these interviews, he talks about like everyone was basically appeared on like Dawson's Creek or whatever. He was like, let's just get the cast of Dawson's Creek.
Casper Van Dien was a total unknown, which is crazy. He had never been in a movie.
All of them had been on Beverly Hills 90210, right? I think he used that as sort of the casting pot.
He was Ty Moody on One Night to Live, like One Life to Live.
Sure.
And then he was in Beverly Hills 90210. He was 29.
Wow.
And apparently,
I mean, really,
the age of me on the day that this episode releases.
He certainly looks 29.
Yes.
And the story was that he came into the interview the audition, and he had a background. He went to military school.
Oh,
and so he took a rifle and started doing like
the
military
and
that kind of stuff, and talked about his, beliefs and all that stuff. And Verhoeven was like, "Yep, this is him. Yep, this is the guy."
Right. And then he went on to be the lead puppet in Team America.
He is one of the most artificial-looking men of all time. He just has this weird, genetically perfect, symmetrical area.
Like he was drawn with a set square. He does look like the puppet from Team America.
100%. Isn't he now weirdly like aristocracy through marriage? I believe he married a princess.
Catherine Oxenberg, the daughter of Princess Elizabeth of Yugoslavia.
Thank you.
However, they are divorced.
Casper.
Sorry about it. Casper Van Dien, who was born in Milton, Florida. His father, as you say, was a fighter pilot.
Ooh.
Casper Van Dien Sr.
Ooh.
His mother was a nursery school teacher.
Ooh.
He is descended from an old Dutch family. Moved to New York long ago.
They carved him out of wood, and then a fairy came and blessed him and turned him into a real boy. And that's the Casper Van Dien story.
That is true. They prayed for a son. Yeah. His most notable, I would say his most notable role post Starship Troopers is that he was cut out of The Rules of Attraction, where he played Patrick Bateman.
Oh, right.
Yes.
I forgot about that.
Apart from that, he is in Sleepy Hollow.
Which he was like
he's probably like the 7th lead, I guess. He's sort of
got
like
some big scenes, but I remember them positioning as like maybe Casper Van Dien's going to continue to be in big budget movies. Like even if not as the lead, he's like a steady guy.
He was also in Tarzan and the Lost City, which was a little more his speed.
Yes.
Yeah, the problem is
which was just like a sort of vaguely cheapo Tarzan movie. Yeah.
He's too classically attractive in an unsettling way.
He's sort of in that Dolph Lundgren universe where he's just sort of frightening and a little Nazi.
There's an uncanny
and he's not even trying to be.
Yes. He's
Where it's
severe.
like no matter how good an actor is, you'd look at him and be like, ugh.
Yeah.
Now,
it's creepy.
No offense to Casper Van Dien. I don't think he's a particularly good actor.
I think he's fine.
I think he suits this movie pretty well.
Like
Verhoeven has claimed as of late to critics that he somewhat purposely cast people that weren't great actors.
Yeah. Sure. Yes.
Or that their look was more, the way he puts it, their look was more important than their acting ability.
I think it's very clear that from the young cast, like you watch this and it's not surprising Neil Patrick Harris is the only one who went on to have like a real career.
Right.
Because you see the way
very good in this movie.
He plays the intentionality of being beaten down. Well, Amy Smart's very much like
she looks like a Barbie doll. She's like, hey, like she just sort of sits there.
Just friends much? No, but like Denise Richards, Casper Van Dien, Dina Meyer, Amy Smart, the dickhead who's Denise Richards' superior,
Patrick Muldoon.
Yes, they're all sort of very much of a piece. They're like models. They're like they're little puppets that
Patrick Muldoon
controlling.
Had never been in a movie before.
Okay.
Dina Meyer was in 2 movies. Can you name them?
No.
Well, one, she's in Johnny Mnemonic, which look, no offense to Dina Meyer, but she kind of ruins.
Okay. Wow.
She's sort of the big problem with that movie. I mean, an otherwise flawless movie that no one has any objections to.
Sure.
Which was like her big breakout role, but she's pretty bad. And then she was in Dragonheart.
Oh,
remember Dragonheart?
Yes.
But I agree with what you're saying, Verhoeven casting for look, because like Patrick Muldoon's a great
Dragonheart. The
Sean Connery voices a dragon. Dennis Quaid.
Yes.
And then Denise Richards the same. Like obviously Denise Richards had this sort of like this kind of otherworldly like.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like her face is so angular and like her eyes are so bright.
She looks like a drawing of a sexy lady more than like a real person.
Which is fitting because movie opens on this. We are seeing this propaganda film.
From a computer screen because you see drop-down menus and clicks.
Right. And it's, service guarantees citizenship.
I like how that's just sort of dropped in though. Like there's lots of other talking like service guarantees citizenship, and you're just probably like, you might not quite think about what that line means instantly. It's such a funny line.
And if you listen to the opening propaganda stuff and trickle throughout, they set up that basically humans have traveled to different planets to start mining, and they accidentally stumbled on this planet with bugs.
Right.
And instead of turning around, they've tried to set up encampment there, and the bugs are fighting back. And so now they're mad at the bugs.
Right.
But it's very much like
they are
we
the
attacked
aggressors.
them. Like,
but they were not.
They are the indigenous
indigenous
people.
Right. Exactly.
Right. Yes.
There's
100%.
only the one time where the newscasters, like some people say that live and let live might be better, and like we might have it disturbed the bugs.
That's the whole point. Like,
and that's when Johnny Rico says, "I'm from Buenos Aires," and I say, "Kill them all."
Right.
Yeah.
The movie functions as propaganda to not give you the counter argument. You have to read between the lines to understand what's actually going on.
So the first image we see is all this stuff, and then we see our boy C. Van D.
Johnny Rico.
Get bugged right in the leg.
Sure. We see all this chaos. It's some sort of like propaganda. It almost looks like propaganda gone wrong because war
it's
is
pretty
unfolding and it's frightening.
Yeah, battleground footage.
Here's something I want to say about this.
And then we go to 1 year earlier.
Then we go to 1 year earlier. I don't like that we see the battle going wrong at all.
I do.
I don't, because I really like how horrifying the battle is when it happens.
Yes, I agree.
I just don't think we need to see it at all. I love how scary it is when it actually happens.
But I do think...
I like the propaganda video. Like, open with that.
I do think it's almost like Verhoeven setting up his thesis sentence, though, where he's like, it's about how it's this, but it's really this.
Agreed. That's what I like about
it. I think you're right.
I just don't think he needs to do it yet.
I think you're right. Yeah. He doesn't need to do it, but I bet he would have been afraid that people would have just bought in that this whole thing was propaganda.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah, that happened anyways. Doesn't matter.
Right.
I want to say, Denise Richards was in Lookin' Italian.
I don't know what that is.
We're the ones holding the podcast
The
up?
American crime drama film starring Matt LeBlanc that we mentioned on our Lost in Space episode, Lookin' Italian.
Okay, not to be confused with Too Many Italians. What you dreamed was the title of The Dark Knight Returns.
No,
Dark
I think
Knight
it was 10 years, but more Italians was the...
More
anyway.
I can't believe the way he's slowing down the podcast.
I know, it's insane.
JD, telling us to shut up, going on these side
David, I don't care about Looking Italian.
Every
Stop
podcast
showing
fan,
me.
every blankie right now, they just slammed the brakes on their car, freaking out at how amazing that coincidence is.
And then they all went, I love movies.
Blanket?
I'm not touching you.
Good callback. All right, so yeah, we cut to Casper. All right, so 1 year earlier.
The other thing I want to say I like about this, okay, is because all the actors are so generic looking. I think if you were watching this for the first time,
Which I did, and I did what you're about to say.
you wouldn't even necessarily piece together that was literally the footage from later in the battle.
No idea. And you have no
Well-
idea that's the hero of the film.
Right.
Yeah, I don't
I'm
agree
watching
with
it this time, and I've seen the movie 5 times, went, oh, right, that is Casper Van Dien, right? It's shaky. The guy looks like a fucking doll. He's got a helmet on. I think it feels like
I made
random
my
fight
point.
footage at that
I
point.
made
I
my
know you
point.
guys want to make my
No, I
point.
think
Now I
you're
made
right.
my point.
Also, I'm sorry, Ben. I got to just dial it back one further. Real great classic white text, black screen title.
Oh, lovely.
Practical.
Yes.
Not too fancy, which
No,
is what I
not
love.
fancy.
Because,
Which is the same thing he does in RoboCop. At
Right.
the end credits of RoboCop. Yeah.
but he has tons of, purposely crappy digital text for
Right.
all of the propaganda stuff. But
Yes.
that is like pristine, practical.
This
You can
is true.
see it flittering in the grain of film.
And like that's the ellipses around his movie. Like he's like every other piece of text you're going to see is within the body of the film supporting the idea of what the movie is
Right.
arguing against technically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So,
Okay, so the
C. Van
first...
D gets
Yeah,
chopped in the
okay,
leg.
Yeah.
The first chunk of the
Jesus
film.
Christ, shushing. Unbelievable.
Jesus.
So
Wow. I've
Oh my God.
I'm
Never
sick,
felt
David.
worse.
Why are you being so hostile? I'm
We're
sick.
an hour in. We've
on my
discussed the
deathbed.
opening scene of the film.
Yeah, Mr. Too Many Italians.
Yeah.
Too many. No, it wasn't. It's looking Italian. Looking with an apostrophe.
Or
Italian.
10
You
years
also
with more
walked
Italians.
us. You've been walking us through the careers of so many people via IMDb.
That's my fucking job. People love it when I do that.
This is the
and I never
podcast.
even got to say my point, which is I think weirdly Dina Meyer
Yes.
doesn't I don't feel like she has the look that a lot of the other actors he cast does.
No.
Yes,
She's
I
like
think you're right.
she doesn't have that sort of like
She's
living
less
doll
generic.
look. Yeah,
Yes,
she's sort of an
right.
interesting looking person.
Yeah.
She's got the curly hair.
Yeah.
So I don't know why he cast Dina Meyer.
She's flinty.
She is flinty. I agree. She's pretty. Yeah, she's pretty. This is her best
That's
performance.
what you want out of Dizzy.
Dizzy Flores.
Yes. Isabel Dizzy Flores.
Anyway, so the first chunk of the movie is high school,
Mhm.
right?
Yes, but I just have to say, one of the first things we see is Casper Van Dien drawing a picture, and he's too good at drawing.
Yes.
And it makes
correct.
it's annoyed me since I was a kid.
Yeah.
That program he's using, whatever it is, it's like a futuristic etch-a-sketcher, right? Like, he's so weird.
Because he draws him and Carmen,
Kissing.
and then
Kissing.
animates them kissing.
He does a little gift.
But here's my
and then in 5 seconds, she colors both of them in,
Right.
and then animates
her
blowing bubble gum in his face
Yeah.
in a
Right.
way that I'm like, in the future, everybody is this like
yeah, who the fuck are you?
expert level
Tex
animator.
Well, no,
Avery?
but maybe the program's doing most of the heavy lifting. Like maybe it's sort of like it makes you a good drawer. Like you just do the basics and it just kind of
It's like a
does-
Bitmoji.
Yeah, it just
You know,
kind of does it all
has
for
like-
you.
It has like pre-viz.
It is the future after
Sure.
all. Because I mean,
Stuff.
like
Okay.
he's good at drawing, but I don't know if those two drawings really look like Casper Van Dien and Denise Richards. They kind of just look like boring
But
people,
that's the.
right?
I mean,
But
that's
right.
the.
I mean, I know.
Right. Hey now.
So at high
You're an
school, these
all-star.
30-year-old actors are in
game
high
on.
school.
Go now.
So what do they do in high school? Johnny's dating Carmen Ibanez.
yes.
Yep.
They're in Buenos Aires, Argentina,
Uh,
which we see nothing of. It's just skyscrapers and
right.
mansions.
It's been completely homogenized.
Right.
And
Future Ball seems pretty chill.
yes,
They play-
Ben's really excited to talk about Future Ball.
we'll get there.
Well, we're there.
30
Oh,
minutes
we're
from
there.
now. No, we have some other stuff
Oh,
to talk
no.
about.
Johnny
we're
Rico's
there.
bad at math. Carmen Ibanez is not
Good
bad
at
at
math.
math.
His
Yes.
friend Carl fucking
Humiliates him.
drags him.
Yeah, puts his score on the big board.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the future, when you
35.
try to figure out your grades, you go and type into a computer screen in front of everybody, and it comes up as a 1/16th quadrant of the screen,
Right.
and then
And you can zoom
Anyone
this
can
out.
access it and turn it, maximize it into the full image, full frame. His best friend Carl is played by Neil Patrick Harris, and what is set up at the beginning of the movie to seem like, the funny best friend comedic relief character, and then doesn't function that way at all, which is a thing I love that this movie does.
Yeah, he doesn't function that way.
But you have this scene at the beginning where he's trying to make himself a psychic, because that's a thing that the Federation needs. So he's doing tests.
You mean Johnny Rico is?
Yes.
Carl is a psychic.
You
mean Johnny Rico's
he's
trying?
Practicing.
He's training.
Well, you said trying, like it's.
But he's also training Casper.
Yes.
To be a psychic.
Right.
Well, it's because like Casper's not good at math. Okay, so I won't do that. Could he be a psychic?
No.
Doesn't seem
can't
like
do
that.
that.
Can't even guess the cards.
Yeah.
And Carl's like,
he could be an animator, but seemingly he doesn't want to go down that career path.
No.
man, military does need animators.
Yeah.
Right.
Federations.
Yeah,
he could be the Sky Marshal of the animation.
Someone's got to be
department.
animating your private snafu shorts.
And at this point, the A
That's
plot
a good
is that
pull. 2 people are going to like that a lot. 2 people are going to like that a lot.
When do you need to barf again?
4 hours from now. So by the time we hit the 3rd scene, I'll need to barf again.
Oh, good.
So, what was I going to say? Oh,
High school. I love how absolutely fakey this all is, and
the
how
A-plot
old
at
they
this
are.
point. The A plot at this point, is that Johnny Rico has yet to,
What's he going to do? Where's he going to go to college?
make
What's he
it
gonna
with
do
Carmen.
with his life?
The
and
whole
they
thing is like
haven't-
they haven't had sex yet.
haven't
Did they
done
never
the
have
deed.
sex though?
No, because he's like, you haven't done it yet. He's
Yeah.
like, no, tonight's the night or whatever. It's like a very classic.
Right. It's high school. The prom is
Right.
approaching. All that. Dizzy's got a crush on
She's crazy about him. She's in love with him.
on Johnny Rico,
And he
'cause
hates it. How dare she like him?
And Neil Patrick Harris is like, I can read her mind.
Yeah.
Yes, he is.
No, Patrick Harris also has a little monkey.
Meanwhile,
Meanwhilst.
Michael Ironside,
Yep.
The great Michael Ironside.
who, he used so beautifully in Total Recall. for
A
Hopeless.
method actor who spent 2 years killing bugs in order to prepare for this role.
Chopped
Yes.
off his own arm.
Just squashing bugs left and right.
Here's a real fact.
Yeah.
When they shot all the scenes with him with no arm,
Yeah.
they had his arm out and had a fake arm on there, and then had to go through and digitally paint out his real arm.
That sounds fucking hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, harder than just like put your arm behind your back
Yeah.
and shoot
Yes.
behind you.
100%. Yes.
So he's this guy who's sort of what is he? Their math teacher, science teacher, or something? No, Rue McClanahan's the anatomy
He's-
teacher, right?
Where they do the
bug
autopsies.
anatomy.
Yeah.
I think he's like the
No,
civics
right. He's
teacher
like
or
the
something.
civics teacher.
He's home
right,
ec,
that's it.
right?
Yeah,
There's that scene where Michael Ironside goes, "Today we're baking cupcakes."
Yeah, he like puts a stick blender onto his
Yeah.
arm.
Here's how to make a bed.
What's the difference between citizenship and civilians? Also, how many eggs does it take to properly?
What's the difference between Venetian blinds and? So he's their teacher.
Yeah.
And he's been damaged by this war.
Yes, but he still is sort of like trying to instill an idea of 21st century patriotism. into
And all
his
these
children.
classes are like are full of propaganda. Like every class is steered towards this bug war and kind of throwing the import of this war onto all of their students to develop a pipeline where all of them feel like they need to be citizens versus civilians. And the difference is that.
Go on.
No, what were you going to say?
Well, he in his first line, I think in
Yeah.
the whole movie, he says like, "All right, let's sum up the history."
Yes.
And then he says like, "I'll read this. The social scientists of the 21st century brought our world to the brink of chaos." So basically, it's like democracy is now regarded as this like, ugh,
Yeah.
those guys. What an idiotic idea that was. Luckily, there's no more democracy. Phew. Right? Like that. We
Got
got
that
we
pesky thing
exactly.
out of the
We
way.
barfed that out of our system.
Much like I barfed out my poutine.
I hate this.
That's why I keep bringing it back.
I know.
And so now we're in this perfect new system where if you want to be able to vote, you have to, serve in the military and
Right.
fight bugs.
Gotta put
And I'll do the
something on
same
the
with
line.
you. Well, my mom said violence doesn't solve anything.
Really, I wonder what the city founders of Hiroshima would have to say about that.
Then Carmen
Carmen,
Abanez raises
yes.
her hand. She goes, they wouldn't say anything because they're all dead.
Hiroshima was destroyed, is what she. And he
Well,
says,
you
"My
get the
favorite."
gist.
He
My
says,
line's better.
Yeah.
True. He says,
System
"My
punch
favorite line in the whole movie." Correct. Naked force has resolved more issues throughout world history than any other factor. The contrary opinion that violence never solves anything is wishful thinking at its worst. And what I love about this is the shit he is saying is so frightening, but the movie is sort of like, nah. It's like, this is the nice teacher. He's the fucking Dead Poets Society
Because
guy.
this opening section of the movie does have the aesthetics of Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah,
just in
absolutely.
space. I mean, just even the lighting, their performances.
It's like a 1950s high school romp.
Yes, correct.
It's like he's in this propaganda story.
Right.
The Mr. Chips who, gets Johnny Rico to serve his planet. And,
Right. He's looking for the purpose.
Aspire to a higher cause. Right.
Yeah.
Because this movie, Triumph of a Will movie within the movie is like, from lumpen clay, not good at math, like not a psychic.
Yeah, but good jawline, good booming voice.
This guy gets turned into like an icon of the Federation, like a perfect soldier.
Right.
And this is like the seed being planted.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Mike Ironside's basically like violence is the only answer to anything. Naked force.
But he's like the Frederick Zola character.
Right,
He's the guy that this movie is like canonizing as like the aspirational figure of the Federation.
And he's so good. I mean, you're into it.
Right,
you love Michael Ironside in this movie.
Yeah.
Right?
And then we fast forward to prom.
Prom.
Here's a fun fact. Growing up on my little... it was like an MP3 portable player. You could hold like 8 songs max on it. One of the songs that I got illegally via Napster was I Have Not Been to Paradise by Zoe Polidorus.
Daughter
of the
Basil
scorer,
Polidorus.
Of this movie.
She plays like electro violin or like, it's like this weird electro band. And she plays a sort of a version of I Have Not Been to Oxford Town by David Bowie, but the lyrics are I Have Not Been to Paradise.
Yeah.
And I had that on my thing, and I would listen to it because I like Starship Troopers.
I like Starship Troopers too.
She's now a composer for Z-list animated movies.
Yeah, if you look up her,
like the hero of Color City, that Owen Wilson movie where he played a crayon.
I do not know about that.
A film that was inexplicably released on like 1,000 screens.
Wait, I've never.
I swear to God, there's a movie called Hero of Color City where Owen Wilson plays a crayon and Zoe Polidorus did the score, and that movie got a wide release.
Christina Ricci is yellow.
Hey.
Rosie Perez is red. Owen Wilson plays a fire-breathing dragon?
I thought he was a crayon. He's not a crayon?
No.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I have the Wayne Brady is blue.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
He was born to play.
Well, he's fought depression. He's talked about very openly his struggles with depression.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
If you click on blue, it gives you the Wikipedia entry for the color blue.
Oh, cool.
That was a joke by somebody.
What was?
That. I mean, someone had to put that in.
Oh, the Wikipedia, yes.
Someone had to do that.
A Wikicomedian was the one who made that. Yeah.
All right. So, anyways, they're all outside of Color City. They're trying to get to it. Basically, the mailman is like, I don't know how to get there.
God damn it,
I deliver.
Wait, we're just going to summarize Hero of Color quickly.
Good. 5 minutes.
Color
5
City,
minutes.
very fast. And
So,
then we'll go back to
all of the crayons believe that the whole world should be their color.
It has to
so
be.
they're mad at each other.
Yes.
And so it turns into sort of like a rat race, Amy Smart kind of battle.
Reprising her role. Yeah.
It's sort of like which crayon is going to get to Color City soon enough. Steps in a big dragon played by Owen Wilson.
Anyway, so after prom...
David, you brought this on us.
This one I didn't bring on.
I was trying to keep it moving.
He brought up the crayons.
I assumed we all knew the Hero of Color City.
So, is there...
The hero is
there anything else? I mean, there's the Future Ball.
Oh, yes, Future Ball.
And the rivalry with Xander.
Ben's
played
Future
by
Ball.
Dave, are you going to...
Patrick Muldoon.
Dave, why'd I say
Patrick
Dave?
Muldoon's hair... Patrick Muldoon's hair is like he has frosted tips,
yes,
but they haven't been frosted.
Correct, but they're
you know
separated.
I mean? Right, he's got the weird spiky haircut.
Yeah.
Wait, Ben, Dave, Hosley, are you going to play the theme right now for the Ben's Future Ball segment? Did my mic just go out? No.
I'm hearing you fine.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so here we go. I love Future Ball. It looks super chill because football in the future is now like kind of toned down a little bit and is a lot safer. They play it indoors and it's fun. It's like basketball.
It's really interesting that you call it chill, though. It doesn't seem chill.
It's chill,
very
David.
aggro.
It's so chill.
Is this still the theme song?
Yeah.
Yeah, great theme
These
song.
are the lyrics
Thank you,
of
Ben.
the theme song.
Yeah, the theme song's the whole segment.
Blankies, if you guys want to turn that into your own original song, those are the lyrics. Tweet them to @David Sims.
So
can I just read something quickly?
Yeah, tweet them to @David Sims. Definitely, that's the one to tweet.
10:14 a.m.
DL Sims or something.
Don't talk about it.
10:14 a.m. This morning that we're now speaking. JD Amato sends the text. Crazy that today is the day we record the podcast episode that changes the world. I just want to restate that right now.
What did I reply with?
Podcast guarantees citizenship.
That's right.
And JD responded, do you want to know more? 10 comedy points to everyone.
Griffin's whole contribution was running 15 behind.
Correct.
So
throwing up when he got here.
yes.
I'm doing great.
Also, I'd like to point out, we talked about this a little before the podcast. Future Ball seems like football, but they made a couple
gymnastic
XFL-style
elements.
rule
Right, yes,
adjustments.
yes.
Yeah.
One rule that they seem to have changed, which sort of confuses me, is in football, when the clock runs out, you can continue play. And it's sort of like, whatever
Until
happens.
play ends.
Until
Right.
play
Yeah,
ends.
yeah.
In Future Ball, it is implied through the filmmaking that when the clock runs out, the game is just over, which
Everyone
is why...
just walks immediately off the field.
Yes, C. Van D does his flip and puts it to the end zone.
Yeah.
And from that, like we see the clock tick down, it implies that that's not how the... So I'm just sort of wondering why Future Ball has that rule.
We'll never know.
David, what is the answer?
Number one guess, Paul Verhoeven doesn't really know much about American football. But,
I think the answer is that Ben's the commissioner of Future Ball and he's yelling, keep it moving. Enough of this already.
So they all sign up for the military.
Yes.
Carl signs up to be I guess he wants to be an intelligence
And they put
officer,
him in
but he
R&D?
gets what's it called? No, it has a cool name.
Games and...
Games in Theory.
Right, yes. Right.
Games in Theory, where they're like, which basically means he's like a member of like
Yeah.
MI6 or
Right,
the
exactly.
SS.
Harmon's
or,
very
you know.
focused on the idea of being a pilot.
So she gets to be a pilot.
Johnny Rico's parents hate that he's thinking about joining.
Johnny
because-
Rico, who is rich,
Very
we see, like lives in splendor, and he
Yes.
got into Harvard.
And his dad's
Which-
going to send him to Zagama Beach.
Yeah.
right, which is like some space beach.
I've always wanted to go there. It's on the outer ring, Zagama Beach.
Right, he says it with appropriate longing.
But his parents dismissively tell him, you're only joining because you want to see her. You know, she's going to look good in a uniform.
Which is true.
right.
Yeah, right? I mean, that
Yes.
is the
and,
movie's
And
not
immediately they
disputing
get
that.
separated. Yeah.
Immediately they get separated because he gets just picked to be a grunt.
Mobile
Yes.
infantry.
And I love
MI.
that the guy behind the desk is like, mobile infantry made me the man I am today, and he's got a robot arm and no legs.
Yeah, he rolls out.
It's a
and-
very Paul Verhoeven joke of like,
Yeah.
mobile infantry made me the man I... And then it like pans down to his no legs and his robot hand.
And that is, of course, Robert David Hall from CSI, who is
Okay.
famed for only having one arm, and he's missing an arm in both his legs.
Yes.
Can we go through his filmography?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So selected
context.
filmography includes The Littles,
Littles?
which was an animated television series. He was in 3 episodes of LA Law.
And what am I saying? Oh my God. Adventures in Color City 2. The markers are here.
326 episodes of CSI. I mean,
What does he play?
he's like you've never seen CSI?
No, I don't think I've ever seen an episode.
He's like the lab guy. You know, he's like the guy in the
Okay.
lab. But you'd always you'd watch it with your uncle or whatever, and he'd be like, fun fact about that guy, missing 3 of his limbs.
Well, my
Sounds
uncle
like
doesn't
you'd-
even own a
It
TV.
sounds like
so-
you'd watch it with your uncle.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
I've never watched it with your uncle. Don't
you
make
should.
these assumptions.
He's a fun guy to watch
Okay.
procedural television with.
What other films have you watched with your uncle?
Film's very rare. Usually it's TV.
Nice.
But you know what? We did watch Howl's Moving Castle together, and he was baffled.
Yeah, please tell me more.
And he was like,
Okay.
oh, David, the Buffalo boy.
No, he's American. He's an American.
Because I don't know if anyone knows, but
Fuck you.
I didn't bring it up. I didn't bring it up.
Ding dong.
I just
Doesn't sound like
imagine
I brought it up, does it?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe
A little
you're
bit.
trying to get us.
You're
Maybe
trying
you're
to get
prodding
us.
us into saying you want us to bring it up.
David's got a smile creeping across his face because he knows it's sort of true.
So after the recruitment process comes the next part of any great military film, right?
Boot
Yes.
camp.
Boot camp.
Yes.
With
Ooh, Clancy Brown.
Clancy Brown.
Mr. Krabs himself.
The best.
Yes.
Playing Sergeant Zim,
Uh-huh.
who has my favorite line in the book. Oh, I looked it up. My favorite line. This is my favorite line in the book. If you wanted to teach a baby a lesson, would you cut its head off? Of course not. You'd paddle it. There's circumstances where it's just as foolish to hit an enemy city with an H-bomb as it would be to spank a baby with an axe. I've just always thought about that line. That's in the book. This is probably where Paul Verhoeven's throwing the book
Yeah,
in the
he's
trash.
like, I'm done with this.
Yes.
Now, in making this movie, they had Dale Dye come aboard.
Who's that?
Dale Dye is this guy that runs this company.
Oh, sure. I see him.
Yeah.
He's a tough army man.
Yes. And exactly, that's him.
You know what his nickname was, right? When he was in the troops?
The friendly man who's nice.
The hero of Color City. Continue.
And Dale Dye's in the movie, actually.
Is he?
He plays the top general guy who gets removed from his podium.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting role for him to take because that guy kind of is the screw up. He's but anyway, sure.
And so they'll die. He takes the whole cast of Wyoming for it's like something like 11 days, and they go through a whole boot camp with the main cast. But he took two of the, so he hand selected all the extras, I believe, and he took two of the extras and had them come to the boot camp. And then they became like platoon leaders.
Sure.
So during the movie, and it's very funny in this behind the scenes documentary, what's his name? Busey.
Jake Busey.
Jake Busey's
Sonic Gary.
He was like, it was crazy. And then, we came back and we had to be among all these civilians. And we were just like, we've just been through a lot. It's like they all felt like they were in the military.
Right.
And these two extras, they became squad leaders of the groups of extras.
So they were sort of directing background. Yeah.
Yes. And so there's like stories from the set where all the extras would be in formation, like jogging to meal breaks.
That's so crazy.
And these extra leaders would be like, up forward, let's go. Like yelling at them as they jogged along.
Sure.
And so apparently the entire set just felt like a military thing.
Love it.
Because of this. And this guy, the entire movie, if you see the behind the scenes stuff, he's like directing next to Verhoeven, like yelling at people, giving them direction. Like
I will
he sort of
say,
directed that whole, like the scene where they all take the oath together.
Right.
Like you see in the behind the scenes thing, like this Dale Dye guy, like yelling to everyone there, like, this is your oath. You must did it, like going nuts.
That stuff is really well done in
I
this
love
movie.
it. It's
This is also boot camp. We meet our good friend Ace Levy, the wild man.
Yeah.
Oh, what a wild man he is.
the palest citizen of the Federation yet.
Yes, he played a lot of weird albino guys. I feel like I've seen a couple movies where Jake Busey, they just lighten his skin tone half.
Right.
And but he's a very pale man who looks like his father, Gary Busey.
I think of him. What the other big Jake Busey role I think of is the terrorist in Contact. What else is he in?
Right, which he's albino in that. Am I wrong?
At
Right,
least,
that's the one I'm thinking of.
I think that's what they're leaning on.
But he's the killer in The Frighteners, a movie I always really love.
Yes. He was in, of course, we all remember the sitcom Shasta McNasty.
Right.
Which he starred in.
But this was a period where he kind of was being tapped as a guy, but he was playing a lot of heavies and psychos.
Yeah,
and then this was trying to position him as like the fun psycho. Like he's the fun loose cannon wild card guy. Like
He's
in a
a
more
weird
conventional movie, this is the character that 10-year-olds like.
I guess so, but I think it would be also easy for in this movie for him to just be the bully.
Right.
Yes, because he starts the bully as he cuts in line.
Yes.
And
this
then
is the
he's
first time
just
we
like,
see Casper.
Rico, I like you.
Yeah.
Immediately the tension is broken.
Yes.
Yes.
We see the scene.
True.
We see the scene, which is very Verhoeven, where Zim is like, to start in the boot camp, he's like, who here thinks they can take me out?
Right.
Yeah.
And like some big corn-fed guy is like,
I think I might be able to. Yeah.
I think maybe I could, sir. And then
Breaks
that guy
his
comes
arm.
out. Zim breaks his arm, and it's like this very visible break. It's like
it's
very violent, very fast.
And like a wet wound around it too. Like
Right.
he's bleeding and his arm is completely thrown out of whack.
Right.
And then Zim just like, medic!
Yeah, which is great.
Exactly.
Then Dizzy shows up
And then,
saying, I heard this was the best.
right.
And he's like, it is.
And CVD flips out because he's like,
You're just stalking me here.
right, get off my
Even though,
back.
of course, he's pulling the same move with trying to chase Carmen around the
100%.
galaxy.
Come on.
Right.
What's going on?
Yeah.
And she actually lands a couple kicks on
But then
Zim
she
before
gets
he takes her
taken down.
Yeah.
But then nothing's broken of her.
No.
There's
Other than
also
maybe
the
her
scene.
heart. Maybe
Sure.
her heart
Damn,
is
Griffin.
broken.
There's also the scene where he throws the knife at Jake Busey's
That's
hand.
one of my favorite scenes.
It's pretty great.
They're in boot camp, and he has this moment where Jake Busey's like, why do we got to learn all this knife throwing stuff? Like, listen, it's a nuke war.
Which
you
is
press
actually-
the button or you don't.
Yeah, don't bring a knife to a nuke war is a great line.
Pretty good point by Jake Busey, because
Yeah.
I don't remember any knives being thrown later in the movie.
Pretty
But
ineffective.
Then Zim is like, put your hand on that wall, and he does, and he throws a knife through it, and he's like, your opponent, your enemy, cannot press a button if he does not have control of his hand.
Well, that's a thing I love about this movie is they make it clear that their like healing technology is really advanced at
Right,
this
so
point.
he can really fuck you up.
Right, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of like really aggressive abuse at boot camp because it's like, well, as long as you're not on the battlefield, we can throw you in the back of a tank for like a couple.
But there's
days.
one thing they can't fix.
Yes.
The guy getting shot in the head.
You're donezo.
Yeah, that's pretty gross too.
No back the tank for that.
No.
And that's when the movie starts getting very violent here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, we're seeing people's heads explode.
And the movie starts feeling a lot like
RoboCop.
Like RoboCop, but also simultaneously, and obviously along with the sort of propaganda stuff, But the way they present characters, the moment with the helmet not working and all of that feels very like 1940s, 1950s American war movie.
Sure, of course.
Where it's like, oh, look, these three friends who get sent off to different parts of the war and all meet their new friends who all die around them.
And then they're reunited at the end.
Right. Except by the end of it, they've become fascists.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
Right.
And Dean Norris almost kicks Casper out of the military.
True. Dean Norris, he's in
He's
Total Recall.
Flappy Face in Total Recall.
So another Verhoeven favorite.
He's bringing in a lot of his guys, and Quato's in this too.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
He's the one who's going crazy on the base, right?
Right.
On the military encampment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's I saw Verhoeven do this Q&A after RoboCop, and he was going to do a Starship Troopers screening right afterwards. And he said, my whole thing with Starship Troopers was I wanted to see if I could do a dual narrative, if there were two narratives at the same time. And the one narrative on the top is, okay, here are these very, very good-looking, sexy young people, and they are friends, and they like each other, and they are going to go off and fight bugs and try to get back together. And the other narrative is they are all fascists.
Yeah.
So one way that he reinforces the first narrative is the group shower scene.
Yes.
Which doubles as a scene where they all kind of explain like their basic motivations for being in the military.
Which also feels very 1940s war movie.
Right, except like their boobs and dicks are all out.
Right.
Sets up the fascism too, because the one person's like, oh, I want to have kids, and it's easier to get a license.
I love that line.
It's easier to get a license if you're a citizen.
Yeah.
But also he said that he felt like people didn't get the locker room scene in RoboCop. So he needs to double down to show like, sexual harassment doesn't exist anymore.
And the famous sort of story of the making of that is
he is nude while he directs it.
The actors would not do it, and then he agreed that both him and his DP would get naked. And weird thing that I learned is that his DP grew up in like a nudist place, and so
weird.
Verhoeven was like sort of on the fence about being naked, and then his DP, what's his name again?
Jost Vacano.
Yeah, Jost Vacano.
He was already like
naked the moment it happened.
There is a funny thing. I mean, there's like a double standard thing here because, of course, like you're seeing a lot of breasts, and there's not a dick in sight. And they even do some very careful, like, Austin Powers blocking, where there's a moment where, like, deep in the shot, and, like, part of that is, like, okay, we're at medium shots, we're, like, above the waist, whatever. But there's a part where in the deep background, you see Ace Levy. And the bar for, like, the shower.
Yeah, they basically are kind of blocking his
They're like,
lower
see,
half.
nudity's fine, everything's fine. Just boobs.
No wieners. You're not going to get a peek of the peen in this movie.
Boobs and butts.
Ain't getting a peek of the peen.
Yeah, this is true.
But everyone's talking about what drew them there, and Dizzy kind of she outs Johnny Rico. She says,
for a girl.
Here for a girl. Johnny Rico gets upset.
Busey's like, was it you? And she sort of goes like,
Yeah.
I do think this is an example of a scene that is like very winky dialogue, very like presentational information.
Right.
And it feels like a propaganda film. And it feels like one of those scenes that in retrospect was like Verhoeven very clearly being like, yeah, this is like 1950s, because people were like, so what had you sign up? And someone's like, I'm here because of this. I'm here because of this.
I'm career all the way.
Right. The scene is almost a satire of the scene in an ensemble movie like this where everyone has to give like 2% shading to their character.
Exactly.
So you care about them when they're on the battlefield, but it's so transparent and so overly done.
So after the shower scene, there's the live fire incident where the guy
You're
gets
going to have to say that
off.
in every Paul Verhoeven movie.
After the shower scene.
The guy gets his head blown off. Rico gets flogged.
Yeah,
which is again not a scene that is played for not violence.
No, you're missing a big scene though. Which is Carmen breaks up with Rico over video
Carmen
conference.
sends him a CD-ROM Dear John letter, a Dear John CD-ROM,
right? And Ace
which
Levy,
he watches
we see
in
that
his
he
little
plays the fiddle.
I mean, Ace Levy's neon green electric violin,
electro fiddle,
which he plays then and he plays later after.
He only plays it later. The first time he's got a real wooden fiddle, they upgrade him in the later celebration scene.
Right.
I command that you party.
It's just wild. But anyway, you're right. Yes. Carmen breaks up with him with the sort of like the shot of her next to Jupiter.
Yeah, it's so weird.
And everyone's going like, woo! And then there's the moment where they all realize it's a breakup video and they back the fuck off. Yeah. Because she's now gotten matched up with Dickhead McGillicuddy.
Yeah, that's true. There are some brief scenes with Carmen like learning to fly.
Her and Amy Smart and this guy who'd been creeping on her at the death ball game,
Xander,
is now her superior, is the one who has to teach her how to fly. Except she's pretty much got it.
Yeah,
like she's
got
she's
it.
got she's a pro. She's got a knack for this.
Right.
Yeah, she doesn't really have a lot of like conflict to overcome. She's just like really good at being a pilot.
Yeah, and this guy is into her.
Right.
But sort of respects boundaries.
Yeah,
He's
they don't
just-
get together.
A little bit. He's a creep, but he also is like he has that shitty like she'll come around eventually kind of arrogance.
Right.
But so after the live fire incident and the flogging,
Right.
Rico's out. He's
relieved
going to
of
wash
duty.
out.
So he goes to Skype his parents.
Goes to Skype his parents, and then what's that in the background?
Oh my God, it's
also,
getting dark.
We skipped over earlier. Ed Neumeier is executed, the writer of the film.
Oh,
he's
the
guy.
the murderer in the
murderer
propaganda video.
In the propaganda video, who it's like watch the execution live tonight, all networks, 6 p.m.
We missed another thing, which is Johnny Rico is reprimanded by a public flogging.
Yes.
Which you know that fucking Verhoeven loves, that he got the most Aryan guy in the world getting whipped by like a huge black man.
Right.
Like the movie very pointedly is just like, fuck everything.
Yes.
But now he wants to go home to his parents. They go, of course, honey, wait, what's that shadow? Boom, Buenos Aires is gone.
Right. They fired an asteroid at them. What were you pointing at me for?
Your Ace Levy line.
What about my
Funny how they always want to be friends with you after they tear your heart out.
Weird line.
Rip your guts out or
Rip
whatever.
your guts out, yeah. So now Johnny Rico, he's got investment because it's about revenge.
Because his parents and everyone he knows dies.
Yes.
On the video conference where he tells them he's coming back home.
Yes.
He's from Buenos Aires, and he says, kill them all.
Now, here's the thing I think this movie does that's
I'm from Buenos Aires and I say kill them all.
really interesting narratively. We have this scene where Dickhead McGillicuddy is helping... Xander.
McGillicuddy. Xander McGillicuddy.
Xander McGillicuddy is
Xander
helping...
McGillicuddy.
Xander McGillicuddy.
Ben just seems... We're an hour and a half in, just FYI. Carry on.
Okay, cool. So we only have 2 hours left to go. He's helping her steer the ship, and they start scratching against the top of that asteroid. They're trying to...
There's an asteroid incident, and they have to get out of the way. It knocks out the communication tower. Yeah.
Which, just so you guys know, the asteroid was a co-production between ILM and Thunderstone, the Sony effects department.
Okay.
And they had different asteroids, so you actually see it change slightly in its look.
Some of them look better than
What's your
others.
point about the asteroid?
Well, so they're trying to disrupt the trajectory of this asteroid,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Roughly, that's what they're doing. But in the process, she nicks it.
No. The asteroid is thrown at them, and they have to get out of the way.
Right.
And it knocks out their comm tower. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, the bugs shot
The bugs
asteroid
have
at
shot
them.
the asteroid at them.
Well, but have they?
Yes,
I
that
don't
is
know.
the question.
I mean,
the
we
question.
are told the asteroids
That's what I
are
like.
being fired by the... But right, of course,
the
there's
movie is
no...
propaganding us because it's saying there's
Right.
no evidence.
There's no visual of them loading an asteroid into the gun or whatever.
But now there's justification for war. The bugs did this. We have to go get them now.
Yeah,
there's
well,
no question.
And there's that
Yes,
in
that's
the
true.
the early propaganda video where they're like, well, there's an asteroid field around their planet, so that must be it. And they never explain how the fuck would an asteroid come from one side of the galaxy to the other?
they use their bug goo to shoot an asteroid. It makes no sense, but the movie never gives you any rebuke of that.
And they do sort of hint at the fact that maybe this is just not related.
Yeah. That's
they hinted
that's
it.
my
Yes,
guess.
that's what he's... And
right.
so finally, halfway through the movie, I guess, probably an hour in, is the invasion of Clendathu,
Right.
which we saw at the beginning of the
Clancy
movie.
Brown rips up his resignation.
Yeah,
They
it doesn't
let him
look like your
rejoin.
signature to me.
And now he's all fucking in. Johnny Rico is from Buenos Aires, and he's here to kill bugs.
Yes, exactly. And they invade Clendathu, and it is a total disaster. It is horrifying. And what I like about this scene is that it is not played for laughs.
At all.
It just sucks.
Yeah.
And all these characters that we came to know just start getting killed.
Yeah, just
So
right
fast.
away.
Unceremoniously,
the nice
unheroically.
redheaded lady who
Right.
wants the kids, she
Yeah.
gets ripped
Done.
apart, and the guy with the little mustache,
Outta here.
Right.
all these sort of background.
And this is when
characters.
Johnny has his big heroic sort of moment on the tanker bug, right? When he gets on the back of the bug.
No,
and
no,
he's-
no.
that comes
No,
later.
that's
okay.
later.
No, that's
No,
later.
there is no heroic moments in this.
This is
in
right,
this
right,
scene.
right. This one's all just.
It's
This is
at
they're
night.
losing and they run away.
It's
Yeah.
at night.
Right,
Johnny
right,
gets,
right.
as you said earlier, he gets bugged in the leg.
Right,
Yeah.
so they got to throw him in the tank for a couple days.
And he's reported killed in action. But it's just
Which
a
they find
disaster.
funny, but Carmen is heartbroken.
True. She's
Yes.
sad. She looks it up on the
And they have
grade screen.
They have the sort of same technology that the Rebel Alliance did
Yes,
for Luke
the back-
Skywalker.
Yes.
Yeah, back
Back
to
to
tank.
tank.
And what I love that though, where it's like after that 10 minutes of sustained horror, and it's like he's KIA and Carmen is sad. I mean, Carmen,
Yeah.
Then you cut to him in the Bacta tank getting his like leg rewritten. And Dizzy and Ace.
Oh, look, you're
they're
dead.
like, oh, you're dead, haha, and like thumbs up, and
Right.
she like kisses the tank, and it's like, how are they not just like completely shell shocked?
Right.
And then they're also like, only 3 days left. And I was like, my God.
Yeah, he's in there for 3 days.
And he seems awake.
But that's his weird strategy of these movies. Where, like, all the action sequences are horrifying, and the rest of the movie they're completely unaffected
They're
by
just
the horror they've witnessed because the film has to function as.
I mean, I think,
a recruitment video.
at the end, after Michael Ironside dies, he's shaken up and he's mad and he gives Carmen attitude. Remember that?
They certainly
there's
get
there's
more
that concept
stripped
of
down.
the infantry have to sort of see the battle and the sky.
Right.
And pilots
and when the
don't.
three of them are reunited, they're all kind of
They're all bloodied.
He's cranked down their charisma even more from their neutral.
Well, Neil Patrick Harris, I feel like
I was going to say, he's the one guy who I think actively plays the sort of trauma and the deadness behind the eyes and all that. The other guys are just kind of doing less.
He's a better actor.
He's a much better actor.
Yes.
He does that really well when you get him reunited with them at the end of the film. Okay, so he gets out of the tank. His leg is good as new.
Right. So what comes right out? I mean, I
think
guess
that's the fight. Isn't the fight next? The fight where he fights with
Xander, but that's very brief. More importantly, it's that they get assigned to the Roughnecks.
Most importantly, they all get tattoos that say "Death from Above."
Oh, yes.
True.
Right. And they get assigned to the Roughnecks, and this is when he meets Sugar Watkins. Everyone's favorite character, Sugar Watkins.
Played by Seth Gilliam of The Wire.
My brother...
great actor.
My brother Jamesy, who loves The Wire, I still have never watched The Wire. I know I'm
worth
a bad adult. But he tried to sell me on watching The Wire, where so many people had unsuccessfully tried to go, well, it's this good, it's, all of this, it represents the world.
Right.
James was like, Sugar Watkins is in it, you would love it.
And you were like,
It was the closest I've ever come to watching The Wire was knowing Sugar Watkins was part of the cast.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. But
the Roughnecks is the baddest group of mobile infantry on this side of Clendathu. And
they would die for their leader. Don't say anything bad about him.
Exactly.
And who is it?
Even C. Van D says, he's like, I heard your leaders are hard ass. He gets punched in the face.
Yeah. By a woman.
Yeah. And she's like, he saved my life. And then everyone's like, he saved my life too. My life.
And then, okay, everyone stands saluting. Here comes the guy down the aisle. It's our old buddy, Mikey Ironside. New metal hand.
Yes.
He's
Civics
got
teacher.
an iron side.
True.
Yes. And he's now rejoined the battle.
Yes.
He's
only got one
leader
rule.
of the Roughnecks.
One rule.
Everybody fights. Nobody quits. And if you don't do your job, I'll kill you myself. We're the Roughnecks. Whatever his name is, Roughnecks.
Rico's Roughnecks.
No.
Oh, at that point they
Rackjacks,
say.
I believe his name is.
Rackjacks. Yeah. They
So-
become Rico's Roughnecks later. That's
Then-
the arc of the Roughnecks.
So we saw earlier the invasion of Clendathu, which is the bug home planet.
Yes.
Then we see them go to Planet P, which is the one that I think I know where it was shot. It was shot in the Badlands of Wyoming.
Okay.
The crazy sort of deserty, mountainy place.
Yeah.
So this is the only time we actually do see the bugs are on other planets. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And there is this sort of vague notion that the bugs have colonized a lot of worlds and the humans want to colonize the galaxy. You know what I mean? And it's like, so maybe that's the actual issue here is both civilizations have sort of expanded. Maybe the bugs more naturally, or maybe,
This movie's about a real estate battle.
because we see the Mormons tried to found new Joseph Smith land or whatever, and they all get ripped to shreds.
Right.
Which is shown to us. So it's they're trying to reinforce, don't break the rules. You'll be bloody corpses. Anyway, just some world building shit.
And then they get to Clendathu.
No, not Clendathu.
No,
Planet P.
Planet P, I'm sorry.
And that's where the what do you call it? Tank bug or whatever? The big
Yes, the big
that's
tanker
where
bug.
he has his big
And he
heroic
has this
moments.
big moment that they could obviously then put on every TV station and
the appearance of the tank bug was was
Amazing.
the money shot in the trailers.
Yeah.
Right.
and it like shooting the flames and all that.
But that
and
thing
then
when
you
he
see the
jumps
movie
on
and
its
it's
back with the grenade, right? And
But the movie you see it and it's like, oh yeah, the flames like burn people in half.
Yeah, terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. And you see a lot of the aftermath of the bodies. Like these sequences end with some sort of triumph, at least a momentary triumph, and then you're like reinforced with like, hey, look at these decapitated.
Right. They show you all the dead bodies.
Splits always.
That's what, that's right. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And for every like Johnny Rico that's put into back the tank.
Yeah.
There's just like hundreds of bodies strewn about.
Yeah.
In fact, like
Carmen says like there's so few wounded. They're almost all dead.
Yeah.
Right.
Everyone's dead. And then like, they walk earlier. Carmen walks through like the hospital wing or whatever. And it's just like people without limbs screaming as blood flies everywhere. And she seems unfazed by it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they love killing bugs.
Yeah.
They're happy to be citizens.
So Planet P is where they come upon the outpost thing.
Yeah. The outpost that's been like swarmed.
Which is one of the great action sgens, I think, of all time.
It's so good.
It's
it's like the tower defense.
Right. It's Helm's Deep before.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to jump back in time here and say this is that I spent a lot of time as a young child over at my buddy Mike Hart's house.
Love
it. To Mike Hart.
Love it.
Playing StarCraft 2.
StarCraft 2, not StarCraft 1?
No, StarCraft 1. I'm sorry.
StarCraft 2 came out when we were grown.
No. StarCraft 1. I've never played StarCraft 2.
It's
StarCraft
good,
1.
But I used to play a lot of StarCraft 1.
On Battle.net, there was you could create custom games. One of the custom games was called Starship Troopers, and it was this scene.
Right.
Where you were inside a thing.
Because the Zerg in Star Trek are very bug-like.
Exactly.
They are.
Yeah.
They're the same thing.
So
not
you
to
and
be
a couple
confused with the
people
evil
inside
Emperor
a thing.
Zerg from Toy Story 2. Nothing
Which
but
is
respect
different.
for my Zerg.
Well, I don't know. I don't first with that. It always bothered me if they called them that.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Oh, because StarCraft got it first?
Yeah, it was weird to me.
But did they? Because isn't Emperor Zerg
It's mentioned in the first Toy Story,
one?
95.
So StarCraft the
I
video
protect the
game
galaxy
came
from
out.
the evil Emperor Zerg.
But let's do the math on
StarCraft the video game came out in 1998. Wow, it looks like their faces are red.
Wow.
Looks like Ben's face is red at Fury for how long this episode is.
Too long.
Ben looks like a man who's walked 1,000 miles.
Ben, any intermission thoughts? Now that we've hit the exact middle of the podcast.
We're just going to hit a quick intermission.
Okay, yeah. Sure. Let me take a look at my notes. What do I got here? Oh, hey, we forgot this. There's the best line reading of the movie. You're going on vacation. It's the father yells at Johnny.
That is a great line.
Yeah, I really like that.
Oh, we're coming up on my favorite line.
What's that?
Please tell us.
It's once they're exploring the outpost and they realize what the bugs are doing. They find a hole in a man's head.
They do. Not only do they find a hole, but then Michael Ironside sort of like brings the man's head over and is like, what does this look like to you? Puts his head inside the hole.
No brain.
No brain.
Confirms the lack of brain.
And then says the line that is one of the greatest lines in cinema history.
Yep.
They sucked out his brains.
Yep.
Sucked his brains out is the exact.
Yeah, they sucked his brains out.
Hey everybody, JD Amato here, just jumping in for a minute. Back in the War of the Worlds episode of the podcast, I did an interruption like this in order to provide some subtext, and the Ben-Deucer was kind enough to let me do that again. Coming up, I'm about to do a Quato impression. And something you need to know about this episode is that from time to time, I'm reminded of the fact that earlier in the episode, Griffin threw up. So anytime I do a Quato impression, or anytime I just don't seem totally locked in, it's because what I'm really thinking about is the fact that Griffin threw up. And I'm wondering, is Griffin okay? Am I going to get sick? How come Ben and David aren't freaking out about this? And I'm just sort of in my head. So I just wanted to apologize. I've been thinking about it for the past couple weeks and feeling bad. And it felt better to let you guys in on the subtext and let you know that I was in my head. I'm not like a total germaphobe, but the fact that Griffin threw up did sort of rattle me. And I figured it was just better to be honest and let you guys know. So anyways, sorry for the interruption. Back to the episode. Now you know.
This is also the scene with Marshall Bell as the general of the outpost who's gone mad. He's hiding in a closet or something.
Yeah.
And this is the scene
He's
where...
also hiding his Quato under full armor.
Yeah.
He's hiding a Quato.
Yeah, Quato's like, you must defend yourself.
What a great tangent from just a couple of pros.
Hey, anytime. I'm here. Anytime you need me, throw to me. I'll give you a nice, warm tangent.
We're going to step aside here for a quick podcast. It's called The Two Quatos. It's me, Quato.
And it's me, Quato.
How are you today?
I am well. How are you?
Now A brief podcast message from audible.com.
Do you like audiobooks? If so, go to audible.com and use the promo code Quato.
That's Q.
All right, that's enough.
Our guest today is Nikki Glazer.
I don't know. She's a good podcast guest. She's been on a lot of podcasts. I don't
Do
know.
your Nikki.
No.
Hello, I am
Come on,
Nikki
Nikki, jump in.
Glazer.
Come on, Dave. Do your Nikki.
Hey, it's me, Nikki Glazer.
Not bad, actually. Not
Hey.
bad. Not
What
bad.
was the show called? TMI.
NSFW, Not Safe for Work, wasn't it? I mean, never forget Nikki and Sarah Live. Great TV
course.
show. Great correspondence on that one.
Yeah, I forgot
Yeah.
you were correspondent on that.
I was. That
Not
that,
safe.
That was supposed to be the
Weird
big
career.
one. Weird career.
I remember when you were on that.
Yeah,
You were like,
weird
"Yeah,
career.
we're gonna ride this train all the way,"
I thought I was going to be.
and you did. You
yeah,
rode it all the way. Like,
Yeah, 4 segments over 2
Right.
seasons. It's a big get.
So what's
It makes sense that aliens,
Mm-hmm.
right, in this movie, that
They
they're-
are in this movie,
that they're
yeah.
bugs.
Right?
Yeah.
Because, that whole dumb, notion that, aliens are just,
Humanoid.
humanoid,
Yeah.
big, headed creatures.
Yeah,
Bugs make sense because bugs kind of look extraterrestrial.
sure. They're
And-
gross.
And
well,
they're
they're
gross.
adapted to live in environments we don't understand.
They lack empathetic faces.
And it would make sense that they would thrive.
Yes.
Can I level a complaint?
Please.
It's a design complaint with the bugs.
Oh.
This is the same design team that did Tremors and Tremors 2.
Sure.
Okay.
Okay.
And if you look up the walking bugs in Tremors 2, I feel like
They kind of reused their.
they sort of reused the aesthetic.
Wow.
I can see that. Here, let me try and find it. What should I look for? Tremors, monster.
I'm
Tremors 2.
I'm going to read a quote while you're doing this. Michael Ironside, who had read Starship Troopers, when
This
Verhoeven.
thing. Yeah, a little bit. It's got the
Looks
same
similar.
beak. Yeah.
I just found this and I want to read this. Michael Ironside, when Verhoeven asked him to be in Starship Troopers, was like, why would you make a fucking movie out of Starship Troopers? I read that book. That's like fascist bullshit. And Verhoeven's response was, if I tell the world that a right-wing fascist way of doing things doesn't work, then no one will listen to me. So I'm going to make a perfect fascist world. Everyone is beautiful. Everyone is shiny. Everything has big guns and fancy ships, but it's only good for killing fucking bugs.
That's a great, great line.
Right?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I love him, and I love this movie.
I do too. So they now know that the bugs,
There's a brain bug.
they got
And
an
they get in your
appetite
brain,
for brain.
they control you.
Yes.
And it turns out the stress signal was false, and the bugs made them do it.
Remote control.
Right. But more importantly, in this tower defense,
Mhm.
2 people die.
Yes, they do.
One,
Number 1,
rat check.
Ironsides.
Who kills him?
Earlier in the film, CVD, Johnny Rico. Because earlier in the film, he watches someone suffer,
Yeah.
and he
well,
goes,
someone get captured by a bug, and he
"Don't
shoots
let me
him.
do that."
Right.
Right.
Shoots him
If
to
that ever
spare his
happens,
life.
Promise me that you'll kill me.
So CVD does it. Kills,
Both legs
kills him.
fucking axed off.
Yep.
And CVD, he hesitates, but he takes the shot.
Which was always a question to me. Because it's pretty clear they have this thing to basically rewrite your legs.
Yeah.
So the fact that he's like, no, kill me now, sort of feels like, this seems survivable, man.
Yeah.
It's possible. I guess so. He is bleeding. Yeah, I don't know.
I think he's worried about what's going to happen next. I think that's the bigger thing. He shows his fear in that moment.
Yeah,
For
he's
the
worried
guy
about
who
the
was
brain bug.
he was presented to Rico as like unflappable. Here's a fucking
Right.
hero.
It's quite a moment.
And in this moment, he's like, I don't want to be in this world anymore.
Right. And then the thing that sort of sucks him down is this one of the bugs that comes, the
Yeah.
ground bugs.
Sand bugs.
Sand bugs come out, and our friend Diz
Yeah.
launches a grenade right into its beak, blows that thing asunder.
hmm Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think past and future guest Emma Stefanski loves or hates this movie?
I'm sure she loves this movie.
A lot of bugs, but also it's very anti-bug.
Yeah, but
But
I think as long
secretly-
as there are bugs, she's on board.
Secretly kind of pro-bug.
Because she can like the bug,
Yes.
even if the movie doesn't.
Sure.
He's a big bug fan.
Loves bugs.
Loves
Bug's
the
life
bugs.
for her.
Nice shout out of Emma Stefanski's
Thank
Bug
you.
Love, which is an upcoming podcast on the Audio Boom Network.
Emma Stefanski's Bug Love. Ben's producing it, right, Ben?
No.
Hey, Ben, would you say that you're into our antics today?
Yeah, it's fine.
Would you say that you're having it? Are you
What?
having any of it?
I'm having some of the antics.
What percent?
Percentage wise?
Uh-oh, here we go.
I don't know. Let's see. If
gonna
I'm
be low.
thinking about it as a pie chart, I'm going to say like a slice of just one slice. If
So
it's a
about-
pizza
There's been a lot
pie.
About 15,
There's
maybe.
been a lot of action today.
Yeah.
there has been a lot of action,
was,
but it's a lot of me taking notes, being like, well, you're going to have to cut that down. And yeah, it's like you're talking
Wait,
off
cut
mic.
that down?
Yeah, what are you talking about?
What's getting cut down?
Slow it down, stretch it out, baby.
Let me know. We can do a tighter version of whatever the
Yeah, I
thing
can do
you cut
another
out.
take. I'm an actor.
You know what? Let's do another take of the Watto thing.
You mean Quato?
Quato.
Oh,
Sorry.
Okay,
what if it's
definitely.
Watto and Quato?
No,
That's
no, no.
take two.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
No, Watto and the two Quatos. We're both Quatos. You're Watto.
No, I'm not involved.
And remember, you're going to be
Okay.
Nikki Glazer.
You're the host now.
Quato, here with my two Quatos. Quato, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm fine. I'm Quato.
Hey, other Quato, how are you doing?
I am doing okay.
Oh,
And of
wow.
course-
Italian Quato.
Of course, yes, you know that. We've done this show together for years.
Now, here's one question.
Yeah.
Italian Quato and Wario, not very dissimilar, right?
It's me, a Quadio.
Same basic DNA.
Quadio is a different character.
Like
That's
if
a third
Quato was
separate-
Italian, he's just Wario.
Correct.
All right, good. Thank you.
Quato, Watto, Wario,
And a bit.
And that sums up today's podcast of Too Many Italians.
Quatario. Excellent 500 comedy points. You brought it around, JD.
Wow, what a
What else do we have to
wonderful
retake
episode.
here, Ben? We need some take twos on.
Can our promo code for all future ads be Quatario? But we don't tell them how to spell it. And if you get the spelling right, you get the discount. And if
But
not,
if you do, if you spell it wrong, the wrong versions actually add more money.
Yeah.
It's more expensive.
you have to pay for the discount that others are getting. You have to pay the difference. Quatario.
That'd probably be a net profit for the companies. They'd probably be into that.
I mean, look, our listeners love Russian roulette, and that's what we're selling them right here.
what
Ben,
if
what
a
do you wanna-
podcast
what do you
is
wanna
brought to you
take
by
two on?
Russian?
What else do I need to take two of? More table raising.
Okay, do you need me
Oh,
to puke
damn,
again?
that was good.
Oh, wow, JD just went low.
No.
Oh, they
no.
went high.
See? We just learned a lot there.
Hello.
Optical illusion.
They went high. You thought we went low.
So after
Obama.
Dizzy dies, I'm
Obama.
sorry, but we have to finish.
Hashtag Obama.
It's crazy.
I just need to puke 5 more times.
Please do. After Dizzy,
Remember when I puked in this episode?
yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
It feels like it happened 1,000 years ago.
Can I get another take at that, Griffin?
No.
Yeah.
no.
No.
It feels like it happened 2 miniseries
Ben.
ago.
Yeah, that's
Please,
how
Ben,
it
no.
feels.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Also-
that is how long ago it feels.
Can I point this out?
Anything.
Happened during the fucking Eisenhower administration.
On the 12-hour day subreddit.
Yeah, right.
There
Your
was-
12-hour podcast. Let's shout out the
course, of
podcast
course.
where every episode's literally 12 hours long.
Yeah, and you get how that happens now. There was someone was like, "Oh, if you like this, you should listen to Blank Check."
Okay.
And then someone responded was like, "No, it's too negative. I tried, and they're too negative about movies." This has been a very positive episode.
We fucking love movies.
We're negative?
I think
Yeah.
this person just maybe listened to a negative episode.
Sure.
Yeah, if you listen to
There's
like
negative
the
episodes.
fucking Elizabethtown episode only.
Sure.
But we on the balance talk about a lot of movies we love, and even when we talk about movies that are bad, we cite a lot of things we like about them.
Agreed. Yeah, I don't think of this as a particularly negative podcast.
Something good in every movie.
I love movies.
Hey.
Not touching you. You threw up 2 hours ago.
You threw up in the last few days.
You threw up.
Time is now a flat circle, but it was definitely somewhere on that circle.
Somewhere
You threw
within-
up 45 minutes into our podcast, and that was 2 hours ago.
Sure.
So Dizzy is dead.
Dizzy dead.
She doesn't come back.
No. Oh, but also
They bury her.
I'm
they
sorry.
space bury her.
they had a little bit of space sex. Michael Ironside demanded
yes.
that they have a party. It's an order that you have fun. He brings out kegs. He brings out a
And he
neon
finally-
green space fiddle.
He does, and he finally gives some worthy advice to Rico.
And he
which
has some
is like,
space balls that he gives out to people
He gives
for
us some
future
space
balls. Some
Yeah,
future balls.
Some future balls.
True, but
But
he's
he
like,
also says-
he's like, Dizzy likes you, like essentially, you know. Don't pass
turn
up
down.
a,
Don't
a
pass
good
up a good thing.
Yeah.
So he goes. They're gonna start having the sex, and then Ironside comes in. He's like, "Ship up, shape out. 10 minutes from now," and then he sees her under the blanket. Goes, "Make it 20." And then there's this,
you're putting too much paprika on it. He's pretty. Make it 20. Like he just sort of like sticks to
but
his.
there's
sort
the
of-
moment I love where she comes out and they look at each other, and he goes like, "Yeah, I can get it done in 20." And it's like, of course, you dumb teenager, you can get it done in 20.
Casper, the friendly ghost. You
Yeah.
can get it done.
Yeah. So is this implied that this is him losing his virginity because
guess
he
so.
and Carmen never slept together?
Did you know that Casper Van Dien's first credit is the direct-to-video fantasy comedy Casper: A Spirited Beginning?
Really?
Yes.
I saw
Isn't that weird?
Do you know that Casper Van Dien is the CEO and founder of Casper Mattresses?
Don't say that, Griffin.
They actually
I can
should.
say whatever they want.
They should sponsor this episode.
No.
They should. Ben, get him on the horn. We're recording this months in advance. Right now, if Ben has done his job, we're going to cut to a Casper mattress ad. Okay. If Ben did his job, we just had a Casper mattress ad.
I'm from Buenos Aires, and I love affordable mattresses.
They suck their brains out of a box the size of a mini fridge.
It's me, the 40-year-old Casper Van Dien.
All right.
Do your job, Ben.
You know what I needed after Starship Troopers 3 didn't take off? A good night's sleep.
Okay. Shut up.
What part should I?
Hey, it's callback.
It's a callback. It's a callback.
It's a callback.
So what part should I pass along to Casper?
We have to finish this
should it be
fucking
the
episode.
marker part of the
Yes.
podcast?
Yeah,
You think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
like one of the highlights.
And Tom,
You mean crayon. You mean crayon.
And tell
Okay.
him it's a hot one. Send him the
Okay.
part where I go
All right.
puke too. I recorded some field audio from the bathroom. Just send them that.
Tell the part of the podcast where one of the hosts leaves to throw up. And then comes
I will
back
say-
and describes
Do your job, Ben.
describes what he ate.
Poutine. Bar poutine.
I will say, JD.
What a
shut up.
bad episode.
Why did you? All right. Here's the real. Where did you have the bar poutine?
I'm not going to say because I don't want to.
You don't want to impugn.
sully their name. It's a good bar where I do a lot of shows.
Okay, fair
And
enough.
if you
All
live in New York, you can probably discern.
All right.
Oh.
Look, we're gonna finish the episode.
Okay.
Dizzy's dead. She gets a funeral.
Dizzy that.
There's so much.
No, there isn't.
There is so much.
No, there isn't. There's just one sequence left.
Well, no,
yeah.
I would say the thing that we did kind of pass over is that while this fight is happening, there's also all this stuff in space.
Yeah. You
Right?
know,
And I think
well,
one element
yes,
that's
little
cool
bit.
is that you have a bug that actually can produce a missile. Like
yeah,
a,
it farts into space.
it
Yes.
farts into space like lasers.
Yes.
Yes.
That shit's cool. I
Yeah.
like that. I like
And
that stuff.
That giant
That's
space.
a part of the whole Planet P sequence where it's like
Right.
we realized they saw us coming.
Yeah.
You know, that's the brain bug sort
Yeah.
of thing. Yeah.
The space ballet with all the ships. Those are all miniatures
Yeah.
or quote unquote bigatures. Those are all
They're really cool.
giant ships that they're animating around each other.
Hashtag bigotry.
Hashtag bigatures.
But no, I mean, there's only one last sequence, which is the brain bug.
Well, they've reunited now. The three of them have reunited on like a space base.
Well, Carmen and Xander rescue the other guys from the tower
and
defense.
Xander becomes wise to the fact that Rico's the one who led this mission, so he's still alive. And he says to her,
He tells her about it. They reunite. But now Rico's like, "Psh, pilots.
Right.
You know?
right,
He's like, we do
dead
the
inside. He doesn't
dying.
have emotions anymore.
He's pretty sad. I mean, it's a sad moment. Dizzy
Right.
gets impaled
right.
and Ironside gets bisected.
And Neil Patrick Harris looks genuinely broken.
Well, right. Then because he shows up and he's the one like, look, I have to make these decisions every day, like where I send people off to their death.
And this is also a moment that is like a very clear move. He walks in and like a Gestapo.
Yeah,
SS
he's now wearing
outfit.
a black uniform that is
And
like
dark bags around his eyes.
Right.
And it's like a black
Yes,
duster.
a duster,
Right.
Like
yes.
it looks like the SS like uniform.
And you realize, like, oh, this has been 1 year since that scene where they literally put their arms around each other and go, like, we'll be friends forever.
Right.
Promise, no matter what happens,
And
wherever we are in the galaxy.
And he's got no laughs about him.
No.
And like even like Johnny Rico is like they're like upset that they're gonna be
Yeah.
sent back in possibly to die, and he's like mad. And he's like, this is the decisions I have to make every day, and it's clear that he's seen some shit in the past like year.
Yes. And even when they say, like, look at us, the three of us back together again, it's so joyless.
Yeah.
There's no emotion.
He's really good in those final
Really
scenes.
good.
Because
Yeah.
his eyes do look like all sunken and kind of
Yes.
haunted.
Yeah.
And he's like talking fast in a way.
Right. He's like divorced all emotion out of
Yes,
his like
it's,
life.
it's clear that
Yeah.
like the past year of his life has been sort of a living hell of having to make these impossible decisions.
Right.
It's a very canny performance because he's got to sell a character arc that's happened entirely off screen for the last hour plus. And he does it just from his body language.
And this was his sort of
This is the
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
beginning
right.
of his comeback.
Of
It's
the
not
slow
really
burn.
because like obviously his real comeback, would you agree,
Yes.
is Harold and Kumar, right?
No,
That-
his real comeback is Undercover Brother, which tees him up for Harold and Kumar. He's
so
fucking
good at
great in
Undercover
Undercover
Brother.
Brother.
But like that's where people are like, oh yeah, Neil Patrick Harris
Right.
like seems self-aware.
This seemed like a reclamation project when Verhoeven put him in that.
This is
Yeah.
97.
Yeah.
Undercover Brother even isn't for another 5 years,
Yeah.
and Harold and Kumar's 2 years after
He
that.
starts doing
so
a
it's
lot
like,
of musicals.
yes,
Right.
he starts appearing. He was like a replacement cast member in Rent
Yeah.
in 97, so around the same year, I think, on the tour. He did Sweeney Todd in San Francisco. He did Proof. He starts like
Assassins is until 04,
Assassins
I
is
think.
04. So that was like part of his whole like Neil Patrick Harris is back, baby.
Yes.
Because How I Met Your Mother is 05, I think,
Yeah. Do you know what they called him on set when they were filming?
of Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
What?
Doogie Himmler.
It's pretty funny.
Truly.
it's true.
Yeah. I think that's really funny.
Yep.
I give the entire cast and crew of Starship Troopers 10 comedy points to divide amongst themselves.
I
You know
agree.
what? I should be more generous. 5,000 because it's a large cast and crew.
Good job.
Thank you.
So, final sequence. They go down to this planet where they hear there's a brain bug, a brain that's controlling all things.
It looks like a nutsack. It looks like the thing that Anakin and Padme ride in Attack of the Clones.
Right. The big set piece is that Dizzy and McGillicuddy, Carmen and McGillicuddy, they're
shooting from the skies.
The Roger Young explodes. Yeah. They escape last second.
Yes.
They try to land. Instead, they puncture through the mountain, and they're in the center of the bug land.
Yeah.
Right.
And they get bugged in the shoulder and dragged around.
Carmen gets bugged in the shoulder, and then Xander gets
brain
in the
bug.
head.
He gets brain bug.
That's another cool practical model. Like his like head getting sucked dry.
Yes.
That's really
Which
good.
is very Total Recall. It's like
Yes.
the opposite
Very
of the
Total
eye
Recall.
bug kind of Mars head
and
stuff.
the brain bug is a practical bug.
Although there
lot
are
of
CGI versions of it, right?
Yes.
Because the one where they're like
When
in
they
the
have to move,
propaganda
when it has to
film.
walk and shit. Yeah.
Well, sure, but there's also the propaganda film where they're like sticking things inside of it. That's definitely a CGI bug because it's got the weird like shimmery skin. Yeah.
But the close-ups to the face are like this disgusting,
It's awesome.
gooey thing that this knife thing comes out of.
Right.
That sucks your brain.
And it sucks his brain out. And it is like traumatic to look at. It's messed up. And
Carmen cuts it off.
Carmen chops it off with the knife, which, hey, the knife came in use.
Brought it to a nuke fight.
You're right.
Look at that.
I take it back.
Good
Sorry.
movie.
It's a whole thing's a callback.
No, you're right.
can't press the
Sorry, Sergeant Sim. Sorry. I just wanted to apologize to the right person.
Yes.
Apology accepted.
Yep. You're not Sergeant Sim.
I'll extend it to him.
Sergeant Dim doesn't need your apologies.
No, he's here.
Because Rico and his gang
they rescue Carmen.
They rescue Carmen.
After Rico gets like a use the force moment.
Yes.
That we are...
Maybe that psychic training paid off.
Maybe, or maybe it was just Neil Patrick Harris.
Yeah,
like
we learned later that
nudging
Neil
him.
Patrick Harris maybe told him.
Yeah, right.
They go back in.
They rescue her, who heroically sacrifices himself.
Mm-hmm.
No, who?
Oh, Sugar Watkins. Our boy, Sugar Watkins.
Right?
Hero of the movie.
Sacrificed himself.
Best character in
and then
film
This
history.
is the moment that always watch
What's
this movie.
one thing he does?
Sacrifices himself.
True.
Growing up, it always was weird to me. It bothered me. Is that it feels like our heroes save the day. They find the brain bug. She cuts it off. They come out.
They're afraid.
And they come out to everybody cheering and running.
Right.
And they're like, what's happening? And they're like, we caught the brain bug.
Right.
And so they run around. And who caught the brain bug? Our boy Zim.
Private Zim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He accepted an emotion to get into the field.
Yeah. But there's the great moment where Neil Patrick Harris puts his hand up to the bug
So
and
good.
shouts
This is
exuberantly.
the final triumphant note of the movie.
They're afraid and people cheer and they fully dehumanize this enemy. They're getting their rocks off on the idea that they are harming these things. And
soon we will understand the
psychologically,
bug.
Yes.
And
they've
Carmen,
damaged them.
C. Van D, Busey,
Yeah.
none of them get the accolades. It's just sort of like, that's part of your duty.
But there was, not to get too heavy, but like that was a whole big part of the sort of propaganda machine of the Holocaust was like the Nazis going like, look, the Jews look worse than us. They're
Right.
fucking disgusting, which is how they teach all these students about bugs in the class, going over how revolting they are, their processes, all of this. And then getting that hatred to a level where people actually get off on the idea of like, look at them crying. Look at this bug that's afraid, you know? It's like a really chilling ending.
Yeah, it's
and
great.
there's in the middle
Yeah,
they have
It's
that
great. It
thing-
makes me laugh a whole lot.
Rules.
Yes.
They have that thing where there's the kids stomping on regular roaches.
Yeah.
Which is like messed up. Like these aren't even bad guys.
Yeah,
they
right.
just look like
Right.
the things you
But
hate.
just get everyone into a mode of like hating the very look and feel of these things, whatever size they are, whatever their motivations are. You know what I gotta do?
What?
Merchandise spotlight.
Okay,
Wait,
I'm
but
glad that it's not
last,
puke.
what is? I thought that's what it was
Oh,
going to
right.
be.
Me
no,
too.
no, never again. Never
Last
again.
line of the film
Yeah.
is in big text. It says, "They'll keep fighting." Next page, and they'll win. And that's how the movie ends.
Yes.
Because it shows like
Well, it's like, you
propaganda
could
footage.
be like Amy Smart, and you see Amy Smart, or her captain, Denise Richards.
This whole movie
Like,
was an ad. It was one big ad.
Right. You could be like Ace, who's like running, or, Roughnecks leader, Johnny Rico, and he's like, you want to live forever? Like he's.
You could be like any
Come
one
on,
of
you
your
apes. You want to live forever?
5 favorite characters from the history
or
of
you
film.
could be like Neil Patrick Harris, and you see like what, and then they'll keep fighting and they'll win.
So this movie had an extensive toy line, which is weird because it's rated R and it's about Nazis. It's super violent, but I think from the moment they signed on to make this movie, they were like, soldiers fighting bugs.
It's an action
100%.
movie about bugs, right? How can it not be a merchandising?
And the
opportunity?
90s were the one decade where like this happened, where like fucking Terminator 2 had an extensive toy line, like RoboCop had toys, like. But this one's very, very bizarre because the characters in the movie, the human characters, kind of are just action figures.
Right.
Like they're just blank things that a kid holds up in relation to the bugs. And they made all the bugs in different sizes and remote control ones and ones that were like micro machines where you got little tiny like centimeter humans.
Ooh,
But
I have an interesting factoid, not for now. Finish this right after.
They were made by Galoob, which is one of those great companies that got gobbled up by Hasbro. There used to be like a bunch of great like Kenner and all those companies that all got absorbed. But the thing I really like about the toy line, they made a lot of the humans, which is weird because the human characters aren't like
pretty
characters
interchangeable,
that
but they
kids
do look like
would love.
dolls.
They do. But they also redesigned all of them. Like the armor in the movie looks rad, but it was one of those things where they're like, we got to make it look more toyetic.
I remember there being like a Johnny Rico Barbie kind of character that had like hair.
I don't have that pulled up here.
What have you got pulled up?
But what I have,
I know what this episode isn't short.
I know. I just want to read these names because they also add onto all of them like titles to make them sound more exciting. So there's Toxic Raider Ace Levy.
Right.
In his uniform, of course, from that famous scene where he raids toxic waste, bright green.
Mm-hmm.
They like made up different fucking outfits. Bug Thrasher Carmen Ibanez, Firestorm Johnny Rico, Mega Marauder Johnny Rico, Cyber Commander Sugar Watkins, and then Jetpack Ace Levy. They all have like uniforms, equipment, or titles that don't actually relate to the movie.
That's, classic
toy line.
Classic toy line.
Done for a super harsh, fascistic, R-rated film.
The film...
Was there a video game, Griffin?
Definitely. I never played it, but there definitely was one.
Yeah, I mean, this is a video game, essentially, in movie form.
Right.
But I would be interested to play that.
There was also Roughnecks, which was like the adult animated series.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
There have been a few video games and a pinball machine.
Oh.
I remember the pinball machine.
There's a film called Terran Ascendancy. Good title. Sorry, game. Not film.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
But the film came out.
It did come out. Okay. Interesting.
November 1997.
Uh-huh.
Was not particularly well received.
No.
And of course, worth noting, this is the post Showgirls movie.
Right.
So
a lot at stake.
Yeah, but I think also Verhoeven now has a very, very tarnished reputation.
Yeah.
And their arms are crossed already.
Exactly. That's right. That's what I'm trying to say.
I think their hope was that he'd have another straight down the middle box office hit at the very least. And it opened very big and then dropped really hard, right?
Let me see.
I think its opening weekend was big and it has substantial drop.
55% drop. Not a crazy.
Didn't make it to 100.
No. It opens to $22 million.
Oh, I thought it was a bigger opening. Okay.
No, I mean, it's pretty good for an R-rated movie in 97, though. I mean, that's the equivalent of, why are you looking, Ben? Of a $42 million opening now. So, not great, but
the
pretty
budget
good.
would be close to 200 now.
Well, would it? Yeah, I guess it might.
This was also quintessential VHS rental movie.
Yes.
It was. No, for sure. I mean, the film had a long life.
And like early days of DVD, this was one that was like, this is like reference quality. You see how much better DVD is?
Right. It made 54 domestic, 121 total. So,
Yeah. It lost money.
It lost money. Well, not a calamity, but a box office failure.
Wasn't it only like $100 million?
Yeah, but you need to make more than just over
added
your budget worldwide.
They made it back eventually through everything else.
Yeah.
They definitely wanted this to be much bigger than that.
They wanted this to be huge.
They did, but at the same time, they released this, hyper-violent R-rated movie. I mean, I guess they're hoping for like a Total Recall situation, but like that movie starred Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
This movie stars Casper Van Dien.
And they released it over Thanksgiving.
They did. I mean, a couple weeks before Thanksgiving, but yes. All right. So, number one at the box office, Starship Troopers.
Okay.
Number 2, jumping from number 15 as it goes wide.
Oh, wow.
A beloved comedy figure finally gets his movie.
Bean.
How did you know? It's amazing.
I'll tell you why, because I was distinctly the other day in the shower thinking about the fact that they platformed Bean. I remember that vividly, the platforming of Bean.
I don't know what's weirder, that Bean did well or that they platform released it.
Yeah.
So Bean, do you want to tell me how much Bean grossed in the United States?
50?
45. Do you want to tell me how much it grossed worldwide?
150?
$251 million.
Mr. Bean, on every international flight, it's what they play because it works in all languages.
Of course.
Well, and the sequel, the long delayed sequel, Mr. Bean's Holiday, the disparity is even greater because it's like 20 domestic, 250 worldwide.
It was 33 domestic, 196 worldwide. Yeah. Yes, it made 14%. Oof.
Yeah.
Then America dropped the ball on Johnny English.
Johnny English is
both of them.
Huge in England, though. Oh my God.
Didn't they just announce they're going to do a third one, I think?
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I mean, like, Rowan Atkinson is like, I'm trying to think, like, what's like the most famous comedy person in America?
Probably Jake Busey.
It's just like, and he can do no wrong in Britain.
I just love that he takes 10 years between each entry in his franchise.
He just fucking chills out, man.
He chills out. Okay.
Bean
platform.
Bean is number 2. How do you feel about Bean? Because you like Ernest. I feel like you like a lot of the 90s sort of broad child comedy, sort of genre.
Well, I'll take offense to that because Ernest isn't broad. Ernest is actually a very specific film.
Subtle, nuanced characterization.
Subtle nuance. Okay.
I would say the humor can be a little broad. I don't mean that in a bad
100%.
way. Yeah.
Mr. Bean, I love the classic stuff, the BBC stuff, all that stuff.
The movie demystifies
movies
him a little bit.
Always, they try to add
the movie.
story.
Yeah.
Here's what I honestly think. The best Mr. Bean stuff is sort of like Jacques Tati in the sense that it's just
which is what they should have made. Right.
But that's what the sequel was trying to be, right?
Yeah.
But the first one
like he goes on holiday.
Isn't the first one like
he goes to
this
Hollywood?
This is my uncle. This
he
is my brother.
With American cousins
with Peter McNichol, and it's like there's this whole thing with Whistler's mother, the
Burt
painting.
Reynolds plays a general.
It's like and like. There's like a narrative arc to Peter McNichol's character. It's like not what we want.
And the daughter has a narrative arc. Remember, because there's the boyfriend with the motorcycle.
I saw that film in theaters. I don't remember
I probably
it very
saw it 3 times.
Yeah, we just send Mr. Bean to the beach and have him put on a funny, funny
he's
bathing
in his
suit
weird
in an
tweed
embarrassing
suit,
way.
and God knows what's going on with him.
And if you want to make some money domestically, platform it.
It's very true.
You got to platform it.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Falling from number 1 the previous week.
Okay.
In its 4th week of release,
Damn.
is a horror film. It was number 1 3 weekends in a row.
1997?
Oh, Halloween H2O?
No.
Interesting. But so it ran the table in October.
Correct.
It's not Scream 2?
No. But, it is it's kind of a sister movie to those movies, I guess.
I Still Know What You Did Last Summer?
Correct. It's just
the
I know
original.
what you did
The original.
last summer.
Okay. I Know What You Did Last Summer.
Starring Jennifer Love Hewitt, Ryan
JJH,
Phillippe,
RP,
Sarah Michelle Gellar,
SMG,
Freddie Prinze Jr.
FPJ.
I just love that 3 of the 4 have a,
3 names. Yeah.
3 names.
Ryan Phillippe looks like a dickhead.
Yeah, he looks like a goddamn idiot.
Dickhead.
Which is a movie about a
Van
fisherman
Dien.
with a big
Should've been
old
his role.
hook.
Yeah. Casper Von Dien.
Number 4 is... Why do I feel like we've talked about this movie before?
I like this movie.
Interesting.
Is that a clue or is that a surprise?
Slightly... I don't know.
Okay.
Horror film, but sort of like a classy horror, I guess, starring a very famous man.
Classy horror with a famous man.
A couple of young ingenues.
Is the whistle a clue?
No, I'm trying to figure it out. Hellraiser 4, Hellraiser in Space.
No, it's an
Doug
original
Bradley
film.
is very classy. If you remember, he's a class act.
How would you describe this film? I mean, I can tell you more, but it would give it away.
It's a very classy actor, but he doesn't usually do horror films.
Classy
he's
director.
done it all.
This is the kind of leading man where he's nuanced.
That's a note of sarcasm. Take that with a grain of salt.
Okay, so this guy's kind of...
He's running wild. He's running absolutely wild.
Where is he at in his star arc at this point?
Like his 3rd or 4th wave at this point. He's an Oscar-winning veteran.
Okay, his 3rd or 4th wave. He's old at this point?
Pretty old. I don't know. He's probably in his 50s or 60s even. No, probably 50s.
He's already won that Oscar. It's a classy horror movie.
He's playing a
But I mean, like,
figure.
I don't think it's classy, but it thinks it's classy.
He's playing a biblical figure?
He is. This is true. This is true.
What fucking movie is this?
All right. Well, let me give you a further clue.
Okay.
It's also a legal drama. So it's sort of like a horror legal.
Oh, it's The Devil's Advocate.
Yes. The Taylor Hackford joint, starring Keanu Reeves, Al Pacino, and Charlize Theron.
Of course Ben likes that movie. What are you talking about? It's a little bit surprising.
I don't know.
What even is that movie? I don't remember it at all.
Al Pacino plays the devil.
But he's a lawyer.
And he's a lawyer, and Keanu Reeves works for him. He's the devil's advocate.
Right.
Number 5 is a film that was banned in China.
Banned in China because...
It is set in China and has some things to say about China.
Anne and the King?
Nope. I don't know if Anne and the King was... That's set in Siam. That's set in Thailand.
Sorry. 7 Years in Tibet?
Nope, but good guess. Same vibe.
Yeah, I'm trying to think along those lines. 1987. Oh, Kundun?
Nope. It's a hard movie to remember, this movie.
And it was banned in China. You know, the other things that could get you banned in China are depiction of ghosts and mixing live-action animation.
Yes.
Do you know hybrid films are banned in China because it's unnatural?
Right.
Really?
To have Michael Jordan and Daffy Duck on the same screen?
Crimson Peak, I believe, was banned in
Too
China.
many ghosts. Ghostbusters, banned in China. Even if they're funny ghosts,
no ghosts.
No good. Very bad. Don't do it.
You know, China has this thing where they
like
only
ghosts.
import, like, it's like 8 movies a year.
That used to be the thing. It's gone
They've now
up.
raised it. It used to be 8. Now it's
Now
a
it's
lot.
more.
Yeah.
Right, but still you'll have movies that try to appeal to
Correct.
Yes.
China in it.
To get in there.
Like what was recently
They do it
The
all
Martian.
the time.
Yeah.
China has a big role in The Martian.
Right.
Yes.
They
There's
fund-
so many
right.
examples of that in modern Hollywood blockbusters.
Coco's done crazy well in China. It's going to probably be like the biggest animated film ever, American animated film ever in China, which is astonishing because the skeleton thing is really close to the ghost thing.
I was going to say it's basically about ghosts.
People are trying to figure out how the fuck.
But it's a
Coco-
spirit world, so I guess.
And
Anyway.
the sense of family and tradition. Okay, wait. So this is Jesus Christ.
Maybe you have never heard of this movie. I don't know.
I probably have not.
It stars a very famous hunk who's now sort of in his like sexy gray hair phase, but he was an early gray hair.
It's not the Connery one.
No, Connery.
What's that one? Oh no, that's Japanese. The
Empire, Rising Sun.
Yeah.
That movie is racist.
Yeah, right. I was trying to think of movies that people wouldn't like.
This movie is
governments
banned in
wouldn't
China because it's like critical of the Chinese government. It's a mystery thriller. It's directed by John Avnet.
Who's the actor?
Richard Gere.
I don't.
Infernal Affairs?
No, that is a Richard Gere film, though.
I'm not going to remember the name of it.
Red Corner.
Yeah, no, I literally would never have gotten it.
Wow. It was shot in Los Angeles using elaborate CGI sets to create China.
I bet that holds up really well.
Okay, so Red Corner. The movie opens, and we find Richard.
No.
He's a red crayon.
He's a red crayon.
Red Corner was not a big hit, considering all the brouhaha. So we've also got Boogie Nights.
Oh.
We've got Eve's Bayou, which is a classic.
Mm-hmm.
Kiss the Girls.
Start of a major franchise.
That's true.
Alex Cross.
Fairy Tale, A True Story.
Oh, yeah. You don't remember that movie?
Is that an animated film?
No, it's a live-action film about these photos that were faked of girls interacting with fairies that went viral in the newspaper at the time, but the movie posits that it was real.
Gattaca.
Harvey Keitel plays Harry Houdini. I liked that movie a lot as a child.
Full Monty.
Harvey Keitel plays Harry Houdini.
What's say Keitel?
I say Keitel.
Keitel.
I think he would say Keitel, and I say Keitel.
Oh, cool.
Cue card Keitel. He has cue cards on
I'd like
set
to
a lot.
share a final thought, if I may.
Please.
I think we
please.
should wrap up this podcast. It's
I don't know. I mean, let's not rush anything.
Yeah. So, the running kind of theme to my commentary is I like things wet.
This is true. You like a slick flick.
This is a no bits podcast. I really do like when movies are wet. I think it's cool. I think it's an added feature. It's like, why just have a dry scene? Make it a wet scene.
It's obvious.
Right.
But I want to point out in this movie, I think it's got the best slime. Hands down.
Yeah.
So many varieties. There's like orange slime,
and the
green
colors
slime,
are
yellow
so
slime.
vibrant.
So
Yeah.
sticky.
It's like
just
gag.
visceral.
Yeah.
So I just want to say
Viscous.
this because, I'm always like trying to tell Hollywood what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So CGI or no CGI, I don't care. I just want some slime in it, okay? Some real practical slime. I want you to get your actors all greasy and gross and nasty. That's my 2 cents.
That's Ben's Slime Corner.
Ben's Slime Corner is done. We did the Quato, the 2 normal Quato.
That was great.
Breakouts.
Spinning off.
I need actually do you mind just a third take?
A take 3. Sure. Any notes on this one?
Do it. Make it longer.
Okay, so this is Watto with 2 Quatos and Wario. right?
And Nikki Glazer,
Sure.
too, which he'll be doing double duty.
I'm doing triple duty. I'm Wario as well.
All right, great. And okay, go.
This is the Quatario Show with me, Quato, two Quatos, Wario, and special guest Nikki Glazer.
Today we are talking about Starship Troopers. The film opens on a propaganda film, and we see Casper Van Dien get bugged in the leg.
That's been our show for the day. Sorry for not having enough time to get to our other
Wait a
guests.
second.
Apologies.
This is me, Nikki Glazer.
Yes, apologies
And then
to Nikki
this is
Glazer.
me, the normal sounding Quato.
How are you doing, normal Quato?
And then I'm a Wario. I'm going to win.
Well,
So they all
not
are.
today. I beat you. The show is over.
That was Nikki Glazer saying, so there they all are.
Hey, let me Waddle finish up the
And
show.
I'm
okay?
Nikki Glazer saying that was the normal sounding Quato saying that was Nikki Glazer saying, so there they all are.
Okay, I get it. Will you please let Watto finish up the show? Thank you all for
Yes,
listening.
we said
Please
that in
remember
unison.
to rate, review, and subscribe. Go to blankies.reddit.com for some real nerdy shit about Blank Check, a different show.
This show is called Quato.
Quatario.
Pado.
Thanks to N for Gudo for social media for Blank Check. Thanks to Joe Bowen and Pat Reynolds for artwork for Blank Check. Thank you to Leigh Montgomery for theme song for Blank Check. Quato, do you have something to say?
I didn't get to. I have a great factoid.
Oh, this is JD
Okay, no.
Say your fucking
Just let
factoid.
him have the factoid.
I got a factoid that's good here.
JG.
One of my favorite. Don't look at your
I'm
weird
literally
future
looking at
watch.
My weird future watch. It's 2 hours 15 minutes we've got.
Damn,
fucking
play it
finish
at double speed.
Oh.
Okay, here's a factoid. Here's a thing that I love. I'm JD Amato and I love movies.
JD Aquato.
Here's the thing that I love about movies. When they use props from one movie in another movie.
Yes.
These suits for this movie were reused in Hollywood forever. Okay?
Indeed. I have heard that before, yeah.
There is an entire Power Rangers series, which is Power Rangers Lost Galaxy,
He's reading off in notes right now.
that uses the exact costumes of the Starship Troopers as their main
Just
sort of like
painted,
soldier
right?
things.
Yeah.
Then Firefly, one of the things, uses repainted versions of these exact costumes. The 2001 Planet of the Apes uses these costumes. The Starship Troopers props are used forever and ever and ever. They're still around somewhere being used in movies for something. I love movies. I love when props are reused. Also, you're giving me Ernest, Scared Stupid. That's a reuse of the clowns from Clowns from Outer Space.
Hell's yeah.
Look it up.
Okay, more slime, and should we wrap it up, or
Yes.
do you want to? Oh no!
Tune in next week for episode on Hollow Man.
Yeah, with special guest Alex Ross Perry.
Yes, and as always,
Well, thank the guest, Watto. Don't
And
be rude.
David never got around to saying that this is his favorite Verhoeven movie. You,
No, I
you
did say
queued it up
that.
in the beginning. You're like, I'll talk about that later. You never did.
No, we're going to talk about that next week. I mean, the rankings. We'll do our rankings next week.
Okay.
But it is my favorite Verhoeven movie.
Okay, Watto,
This is my least favorite podcast. No, I'm kidding. I
This
love
is
it.
the best one. This is the number one best one.
I'll see you guys on the subreddit.
Yes.
Are you in there?
I go and lurk.
Drop your
I check it out.
username.
Do you have a...
Yeah, my username's JD Amato.
Oh, cool.
Oh.
Okay. It's going to be hard to spot.
He's a real lurker.
Eagle-eyed listeners.
Yeah,
might
we
be
can go
able to-
talk about the tech stuff. We'll talk about the film stock. We'll talk about all that in the subreddit.
Okay. Watto, take us out.
and as always, this is going to sound like a joke right now, but I actually feel really sick. I think I need to go puke.
Go.
I'm JD Amato, and I love movies. I had a dream last night where my sister was making me play a board game where ghosts were summoned and they had to answer trivia, and you had to bet on which ghost you thought would have the answer.
But were there real ghosts?
They were real ghosts,
Okay.
but you had to be sort of nice because they had a lot of baggage. And then there was a lot of waves. That always happens in my dreams. I don't know why I decided to bring that up right now,
Hey, like,
but I
Go.
just remembered that.
Shut up, JD.
Okay, I need to
geez.
talk about something
Oh
once
my
we get
God.
going.
Okay.
David's been a little sassy today.
that chicken Caesar sandwich got me feeling all cocky. It's got some spice in it today. Yeah, I know. Okay.
Hey, shut up, David.
Yeah, enough with the sandwich. Shut up,
Some
David.
of us haven't had lunch
Yeah,
yet.
David,
today.
shut up.
Well, you should have had lunch.
In the first 20 seconds of being a guest on this podcast, I was told to shut up.
Yeah. Jesus Christ, David.
You've been here for an hour, JT. Let's
Yeah,
be
we'll get
clear.
into that first.
Blame David and his sandwich.
Wow.
I was going to get here on time, and David said, leave me a little buffer so I can eat this sandwich.
No,
Yeah,
David,
that's what
David
happens.
broke down how late you are normally.
Never. Okay, ready?
Yeah.
Ready.